Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Neo Gamer Sage of the lovely EU Retro. Welcome to the AOC refresh on the first week here in ESL Premiership for Apex Legends. First time we get to say that as we bring you all of the coverage. We've got 4 games today. As we have 19 teams vying to make their way towards, of course, those playoffs. There's a lot on the line, and we'll run through how this all works. Before we get into all of that, Retro, how you doing, mate?
I'm going good, man. I'm going good. You know, it's been a lot of Counter-Strike watching recently.
Mm-hmm.
For those that maybe follow the channel and go like ESL UK's like, it's Apex Legends today. You know, naturally we have the Counter-Strike events going on today. Changing things up, mate. Different title, different opportunities, maybe open some new eyes. I'm here for it. You know, I'm not a massive watcher of Apex Legends, but I've been doing my research. I've been looking things up. I've been learning the game, and you know, your Apex Legend connoisseur to my left, certainly gonna guide us through.
Well, I'll explain how everything is going to run here at the ESL Apex Legends Premiership. And of course, as we are starting with the AOC refresh, we can refresh how this thing is all going to be formatted. So we have 19 teams. We had 20 originally, but of course, due to complications and other qualifiers, now only down to 19. They're vying for £5,000 as the prize pool. First place taking 1,900 of that 5,000. A pretty decent little chunk. We're going to play 4 games every week. And of course, it's a standard setup when it comes to points. You get points for positions and you get points per kill as well. So pretty standard, all things. And we have some pretty decent names coming through as well. So should be very, very exciting. We have an open qualifier, which all these teams came through, and we will be playing on a World's Edge as the map. So all in all, it's a very, very standard setup here, and it should hopefully run very, very smoothly.
Hoping so, mate. Hoping so. But of course, this is going to be there's going to be some challenges along the way. I think for everyone watching at home, maybe a few things to learn. I'm excited, man, because you know me playing ranked and whatever is going to be very different to watching these guys play. I think you know I always say the same for CS. I'm a bit of a noob compared to the pros, right? So certainly today, like so out of depth. Like we were joking beforehand. Oh, we should have signed up to the open qualifier, mate. We'd have got stomped. So
100%.
you know. Yeah, I'm here to learn, man. I'm here to learn. I'll be keeping my keen eye open. And obviously, if you've only just joined us, this is the AFC refresh, as you said. It's our chance, basically, to dissect the day before we jump into the action. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at ESL UK.
Yeah, of course. We have some pretty decent teams who have, made their appearance through the open qualifiers. Some bigger names that those of you kind of the more diehard Apex fans should know. Invictus Gaming being one, Eco Esports another, Starter Fight another team who have done quite a lot of good work. I know they competed in a couple of those nights tournaments, a decent European org, a couple of little names as well that people might recognize. So Dell's probably the best one that comes to mind. Of course, currently playing with Pioneers, but a very, very talented player. Played with an ALGS, put up very stonking performances with an ALGS. He's kind of one of the sort of highest earners coming out of the UK as well. So one of those bigger names. There's a few other, quite funny teams that we can kind of catch Jam being one that really came to mind. But I think probably one of the bigger kind of names that we have to talk about is a team that myself didn't really know too much about before seeing the open qualifiers, but it's the Franco-British Union. Now, those guys won 3 out of 4 of the open qualifier matches. They came second in the other one, racked up 65 points with 20 kills. I mean, they farmed their way through those open quals. They played super, super well. Invictus Gaming came into a second place with 56 points, and in that third place, rounding off the top 3 was Eco Esports. Some of the bigger names, but I've got to say that Franco-British Union side, while they are probably not the more notable names in comparison to the other. I know Clone, the Frenchman, has been around for a little bit of a while, but more kind of in the tier 2 space. But they have put up a super solid performance from the open qualifier. So probably someone that we have to, at the very least, keep an eye on coming in towards this game, right? I mean, in towards this season, they've been putting out some solid performances. I know he himself as well, Clone, is fairly decent when it comes towards the Wraith. Occasionally uses the Watson as well, which of course is what Serdell is known for his Watson. So I'm interested to see how this one's going to pan out. They're definitely the team that we have to keep our eyes on, alongside your Ecos, alongside your Starter Fight, alongside your Invictus, just because they won the open quals.
Yeah, I think to touch on the Franco-British Union a little bit more, right? They secured 65 points in 4 games. 3 out of the 4 games that they played in the qualifier, they won. Like, you talk about performance, you talk about domination. That's probably the best run you could ask for heading into this event today, right? Like, that not only gets you a rough idea of the kind of level of teams that you could be playing, because obviously a lot of the names overlap from the qualifier to now, gives you a rough idea on the level of the teams that you're playing, but also that you know that on a good day, you can absolutely farm harm some people on the server today. So there's every opportunity now that we sit down today and it looks exactly like it did in the qualifier. Franco-British Union, with the players that they have, the stature that they've been looking in through the qualifiers, they could destroy. We could be talking about them being number one at the end of today as well.
Yeah, no, exactly that. And I think, for them, they are a side who really understand how it goes about when it comes towards kind of these seasonal play tournaments where, it's all about the war and attrition. It's about playing that long game. It's about getting points in terms of placements. A lot of these sides came through in terms of, more kills, especially, IG International and Eco Esports. Both of them came through with kind of more kills overall. But the positioning, finishing in that top 3 ranks you in so much points in comparison to finishing outside of the top 10, right? And that's where these sides are going to be looking towards, basically playing the long game. It's more in your kind of a bit more of a necessity, basically, to finishing in that top 3 rather than racking up 10 plus kill games, right? Granted, the points per kill is going to be very nice, but getting 12 points for a first place finish is really going to help you out in the long term. And especially you add a couple of kills on top, the last little, cherry on top. So that'll be how things will pan out. Of course, we are playing World's Edge, a map in which pretty much everybody knows at the back of their hand now. Has been in the game for such a long time. So it should make this pretty standard for the players and, of course, for you viewers at home to kind of follow along. It's a very standard map. I'm interested to see how this one's going to pan out. Do we see teams vying for Epicenter? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But for now, I'm excited to get this one underway, right? We have got 4 games today, 4 games tomorrow. We're going for a few weeks. And then, of course, we have got the playoffs with 16 teams vying, of course, for the fairest share of that 5,000 chunk.
Yeah, I was going to talk about the rundown a little bit more now, right? And sort of the point distribution and what have you. I think it's very obvious. Like, okay, we've got games going on. What do they look like? Well, it's very simple, right? A kill is a point. For first place, you get 12 points, right? So we can already see the very glaring, I wouldn't say issue, but the clear winner in the points contest is placement is very, very key. 9 points for second, 7 for third, 5 for fourth, 4 for fifth. For 6th to 10th, you get 2 points. For 11th to 15th, you get 1 point. So, while it is very top heavy, I think it's very rewarding for those that can survive. And the topical conversation we had before the stream was even boosted up today was, are we going to be seeing players go hunting for kills early on, or are we going to see people just play for placements? I think it's very obvious that placements are the way to go. And so for the first few games today, I think it's very certain that we're just going to see people sitting back, letting other people take each other on, and basically just playing it to the final circle, right? And bringing 100%. It down to the final moments of the game and just going, do you know what? We could do with the points here. Let's try and aim for 12.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what we're going to see. I even made the guessing towards kind of the first couple of weeks, and it might be a little bit on the slower side in terms of the play style, just because teams will prefer to find the points off placements. 12 points for a first place is really going to boost you up high. When you consider that, the Franco-British Union, those guys 65 points, and 3 of the games that they won, they weren't even top in the frags at all. It wasn't about kills them, it was about getting placements. And that's where you see specific legends come through, like Caustic, or even, to be fair, the Watson as well. And I know Watson's the one in which Sardell uses, Clone uses as well. So those two are really going to find a lot of form of just locking off that final zone, right? It really will help them when they get towards the final circle, seeing it off in towards, at the very least, the top 3. And that's where you get the real bulk of your points coming through. And if you can mop up a couple of kills, potentially that could add to the tally. But in the grand scheme, you're spot on, right? You're looking for placements. You're looking for kind of that top 3. Even, to be honest, top 5 is really going to massively help you, even if you don't get a lot of those kills. And of course, that's what we'll see things, of sides fighting for the likes of Epicenter, fighting for Fragment East and West, right? Can really help out in terms of, the longevity side of things.
I was going to say one thing, right? And I think that the way the points work, it rewards consistency in placements. You don't have to be number 1 every single game. But as you said, securing a top 5, if you get top 5 every single game, that's 20 points. And I'd say most of the time that's going to put you in top half of the table, which, if you're top half in 19 teams, top 10, I think top 9 make the money in this, right? In terms of prize pool. So realistically, you just need consistent placements. It's not like you even need the kills, and then anything on top is obviously something that's going to work in your favor. So I think there's obviously going to be games where you have early exits to them because, you get pushed by a team, or there's a certain person that's just having an unbelievable game, or you just get a bit misfortunate on the drop, as you said. Maybe, it's a hot spot for teams to jump into and people change strategy. There's so many different if, buts, and maybes, but I think for the most part, if, you say 3/4 of the time, 75% of the time, you're getting in the top half of the scoreboard in terms of placements, I think everything's going to slot in quite nicely. Maybe it changes a bit for the live finals when, you're playing for money, so you want to be going for the stupid plays. You want to be pulling off the gimmicks. I think for now, in the group stage, if you want to just prove that you're a solid contender, just make sure it's consistent, no matter what.
Exactly. And, you know, when we get to kind of the latter stages of these group stages, you know, kind of those final couple of weeks, that's when we'll maybe see things ramp up in terms of aggression. Some of those teams, you know, within kind of the, I don't know, 13th to 20th, you probably don't have a chance of really being in contention for kind of, you know, maybe the big spots, or even the guys who potentially might not make it to the finals, right? From kind of that 16th to 20th position, right? Those guys might just try and cause a ruckus, drop in towards those hot and heavy zones. You know, a lot of teams have preferences about where they want to drop towards, right? And potentially they could start just to cause a problem for some of the big names, right? You know, Eco, if they're performing well, you could try and drop where they usually go to drop, just to, you know, try and get them out early, try and take those fights, see if you can cause a ruckus, and a little bit of a change in terms of maybe how the leaderboard pans out. But yeah, in the grand scheme, when it comes towards these group stages, it should be about just setting up that consistent performance, getting within those top 10s, getting those top 5s, potentially getting a couple of kills, but just trying to stay alive as long as possible. Then when we get towards playoffs, things will ramp up in terms of aggression, because teams will realize that potentially even the placements might not be enough, right? We need to see sides, you know, going for a lot of those, you know, heavy kill games, right? And, you know, off the back of that, that could really make a difference. But I'm very excited to see how things pan out, of course, with our first game just around the corner as well. It's more or less ready to get rolling. We're getting people in the server. We're hopefully getting towards Legend Select momentarily and potentially see some of those agents. That could be a bit of a standard coming through for the rest of the season.
I'm excited, man. I think this is going to be a little bit of a lie, this first game. I think people are going to be very passive. People are going to be very chilled. We know what it's going to be like at the end of today, right? Yeah. People are not going to give one. They are just going to run right at you. It's just unlucky if you get caught in the crossfire. Let's jump into it, though, Nao. I'm excited to see how the map shapes up. As you said, maybe there's going to be a lot of landing towards Fragment East, Fragment West. Epicenter's looking pretty lively as well. I'm wondering, you know, that maybe the low teardrop spots, right? The places where your loot isn't as good. Do you just want to play safe and try and build up over time rather than running right into things you can see on screen? I don't think anyone's actually landed on one another.
No, this is nice and kind of spaced out. We see Ecop towards that top right. Pretty decent of them. They're just kind of trying to lock off Refinery. They might get tested a little bit, but in the grand scheme, it's actually quite a passive start, in all things considered. This one should be nice and easy for these guys just to build up a little bit of loot early doors and see what they can find. There shouldn't be too many early fights coming through. That zone looks like it might end up over towards potentially even Harvester if it wants to really lock itself out there. Harvester's very tough in those late zones as well, so it could be very interesting. But for now, nice and passive, nice and quiet.
Yeah, I think, you know, we're currently obviously watching the Eco boys currently going at it. I don't think anyone's going to be having any issues in terms of looting up. As we looked at the map beforehand, no one was really stacked on top of one another, right? So we're going to be gifted a very slow start, you know. We can talk about our days, talk about what's going on. I don't think anyone's going to be hating too much, and I don't think anyone's going to be really pushing to get kills. This early on, at least, I think it's a massive roll of the dice. As we've talked about so much in the pre-show, in the AOC refresh, we were kind of saying, right, that if you go for an early squad wipe, I mean, sure, it gives you 3 points, but, you know, it's a coin flip between taking an early exit and not getting anything for placement, or just chilling, missing out maybe on 3 points now, but maybe it results in 12 later on.
Yeah, exactly. Seen a couple of these agents come through for Catjam as well. Running the Seer. Seer, my agent of choice as well. So good to see it get picked up. Not exactly in meta. A lot of sides prefer to go for a Bloodhound if you're just going for, I guess, one of the... well, not even more offensive. It's great in terms of information, right? Seer and Bloodhound are the two, you know, best in terms of information. So interesting to see Seer picked over the Bloodhound, but there are definitely his preferences in terms of, you know, what Seer can do over that Bloodhound. Generally speaking, I say Bloodhound's a little bit more in meta, but for the grand scheme, I'm liking this little composition. For now, though, it is nice and quiet. We really shouldn't see too much happening until those zones start coming in. We've got a bit of time to work with as well. Kind of 4 minutes 20 on the clock. We're not really in too much of a rush right now. Run of the car, 30-30. Should be nice and simple. So far, as things are set up. Yeah, Eco just locking out in towards that top right. For a Refinery, there's some fairly decent loot up that way. They're probably going to have to push wrapping through Epicenter to make its way towards the zone. And it's looking like the zone might end up more over towards kind of that train yard area, maybe even towards Countdown. So, yeah, I don't know, not too bad so far.
I was going to say Harvester could get very interesting once this first circle settles in completely, right? Because obviously you've got the DC boys moving up. You can see there's a lot of teams sort of floating towards the southeast side of the map. So that place is going to become very overpopulated. And obviously with the terrain being very included in this first circle, like you're going to have a lot of teams pushed in together a little bit more. So we'll keep a keen eye out for that one. For now, as you said, very, very quiet. I don't think there's any bold picks. I was just having a look at if anyone's gone for some outrageous legend select from the get-go, just to see if, you know, why not? Let's just have a laugh. I don't think we've seen any of that for now. I think everyone has picked a legend within their own right. Easy stuff for now, in all honesty. I don't think we're going to be talking much about the fights going on so far. So now I'll ask a very important question that will make or break your relationship with the Twitch chat.
Yeah.
Who do you main?
Who do I main? Seer. Weirdly enough,
Okay.
Seer or Bloodhound is actually who I main normally, just because I wouldn't say mechanically I'm one of the better compared to some of my friends. I shout out Travis, CS caster, but unbelievable at Apex. When I played with him, he's unbelievably good at the game. Seriously cracked. So I let him do the majority of the fragging. I get the information, right? So whenever I play with him, that's usually how I do it. Yeah, exactly. So I normally, I've always been Bloodhound for the longest time, since like the early days, but I've kind of been trying to branch out a little bit, go towards the occasional Seer if I want to, you know, change things up. I used to play Valkyrie for a bit, but I'm not as good with her, to be perfectly honest. She's good in certain situations. If you need to kind of, you know, reposition, she's very good in that sense. But yeah, for me, Bloodhound normally, bit of Seer, occasionally a Valkyrie, but very occasionally.
I like that. I like that. I'm a Loba main.
That's what Travis is as well. He's
there you go.
Very good at it.
I enjoy Loba a lot, actually. I think
good for getting kit as well. Good for gearing
yeah,
up.
exactly. And I think the ult comes quite quick, doesn't it? On that. So it's like, you know, you're always going to be making upgrades. I mean, if you miss a bit of loot, which is bound to happen every now and again, you know, always nice to mop up effectively. We are hearing shots and we are seeing gunfire across this part of the map right now. The Franco-Brits are currently being challenged a little bit. I don't think they're going to be worrying all too much. You know, no point pressing. Stupid to press at this moment in time. 13 squads left, I've noticed. I don't know what's going on. We were saying that there should be 18 in the server. Either we've missed a lot of kills, or...
I do think we had a couple who didn't come to this week because of another qualifier.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes, I do remember now. Yeah,
in the grand scheme, we had a couple who haven't really, who aren't in this week's for today and tomorrow, just because of if I'm right in saying there's ALGS EMEA quals on at the same time. And since the first week no one got eliminated, it's not actually the end of the world. But good to see that Franco-Brits are here, because they are, of course, probably the ones to watch in terms of the open quals. They were unbelievable to the open quals. 3 out of 4, coming second in the other one as well. Pretty decent in the grand scheme of things. A very decent comp coming through here as well. Watson seems to be quite a familiar pick across the board. Understandable. Very, very good for just playing off the back of positions, Watson. But for now, information plays. Not really taking too many fights here.
Nah, nothing. It's been quite silent. I think, as we expected, it was just going to be very chill, you know, for the first 10 minutes of a game, maybe slightly less. Like, I expected this. Nothing more than just a few gunshots. You're testing the water. You're trying to drain the utility. Sort of, I'll bracket that, you know, your shield, your meds, whatever. You know, you're trying to drain that from other teams, because sure, as much as it goes into your pockets when they die, actually, I don't think it matters all too much. You just want to remove it from other teams so they're weaker, so you can secure the kills easier. I think that applies across the board in every Apex game, you know. You're always going to try and shoot an opponent no matter the distance, just because, well, if I get rid of some shields, if I start pushing the issue a little bit more, then here we go. It's going to start to hurt the other team. Finally, we do see some kills coming out. It's Eco that are finding the kill feed right now.
See, Eco as well, finished 3rd overall, looking to find a couple of points when it comes to kills. It's not a bad start as well. R301, one of the best guns in terms of meta. Either an R99 or an R301 man. I've already been put to very, very good use. And hunting for more as well, I like this. They're playing on the more aggro sense. It's the perfect way to do it. Lock out this building, get a couple of kills under your belt. Early couple of fights coming through as well. Evade, looking for damage. Will be able to find Sam, but needs to stay alive. Soon he'll fall away.
Mate, how has he stayed alive? That should have been punished so much. There's 2 of them there. That should have been easy as you like. Instead, Eco are fighting for survival. I think Phoenix is going to be brought out by Zuni. Got to be careful, though, because there's a bit of an overcommitment. Now we need to see the kills coming in. A second one for Eco. Still one knock. I don't think they've got him just yet. There's a second down. It's all kicking off right now. Shield battery going to be used. Young Hong Kong. What a cool name. He needs to clutch up.
A lot to be done here. This is looking very dicey for Eco. One of the better squads coming in towards this one. Got the Arc Star to come through. Needs to get this Res on board here. They cannot play this in a one versus
I like this
situation.
Oh,
Getting flanked though. This makes it awkward. One more fall as HTP Harold gets dropped down. This is starting to crumble. A lot of damage dealt, but he's been detected by the Bloodhound. Trying to stay alive. Trying to use the Massive to good use, and will find himself a frag. He's going to hightail it as well. With the Octane,
Yeah.
you can just ball away, but needs to res himself. And got to pick up those banners as well.
Yeah, I was thinking this. He's going to have to loop back, isn't he, to try and get his teammates back in. Chet's in the meantime having a good look, see what's up. Wondering who's going to profit from all that loot. I'm not too sure. I think there was a third team up in the distance saw in the beginning from the free cam. So just want to make sure that, you know, everything's all right. And here we go. Shots far enough once again. Chet's esports are going to be tested for the time being. But again, it's nothing more than gunfire. No pressing issues just yet.
Yeah, the steer on the other side is causing a lot of problems to these. Great damage being dealt though. Good spray. Nick Boyd's in a really worrying spot. All his shields down and he will start to fall. This is getting very, very dicey. Chet are left down to one and Coach going to do a lot of work to keep them in this fight. Valkyrie will just try and push the agenda a little bit more.
Lovely.
Great aggression coming through. And like, once again, she's going to hightail it. The new kill leader with 3 to his name, which means 3 points on the board, but needs to get a good position now. And the banners need to be collected.
Yeah, massive. Obviously, the Eco boys, both banners picked up. If he can survive, you got to be careful because Eco are eliminated. One overextension, and that cost them their first game. And there you have it, a team that capitalizes upon Eco's success, and it becomes their downfall. Now, Kai, our second team eliminated. It's Eco and Chet knocked off the list.
And Eco as well were, as we mentioned, one of the best performing when it came towards the open qualifiers. They finished 3rd overall. And now they're down outside of the top 10, which means points for them are going to be very, very rough. Granted, they got a few off the back of kills, but in the grand scheme, they shouldn't finish too high. Not going to get a lot in terms of placements. Probably getting, I know we said sort of 3 for 1, maybe a couple more on the other 2. So potentially kind of, you know, 4 or 5 points in terms of kills. You're getting not a lot for outside of a top 10 finish. They might even finish this round in what, kind of potentially 6, 7 points? Not exactly a dream by any means. For now, there are 10 squads left. Looking inside of that top 10. How many burgers? They left down to 1, in fact. Wingman coming out to try and cause some damage. We'll find a tag, but going to be dropped out from range. The G7 Scout causing further issues. This is looking really good. We're now down to our last 9 squads.
So things are already kicking off in the server here. I mean, put it into perspective now. Obviously, we didn't have full capacity in the server today, right? Like, we were expecting a few less than the original. I think we were saying, you know, maybe like 13 teams had jumped into the server for the first game today. I'm pretty sure we started on the hour, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes.
So
yeah.
we're, what, 9.5 minutes in, and already we're at 9 squads left. Like, this game, as much as we were sitting here in the pre-game and saying, like, things are going to be pretty slow, I'm surprised how action-packed these first few minutes have been.
For now. 9 squads remaining. Great shot there as well onto Tate. And still, things are looking a little bit dicey. It's a good position, but the zone to the back's not going to help, especially with Rockets coming in. So the barrage is brilliant. And ult can come online. Well, the lifeline, but the question is, it will be popped, in fact. That's good. Gives them at least something to work with as they're trying to wrap all the way around, looking for their position. Might get tagged on the way out, though.
Yeah, just got to be careful. I don't quite know the team that's shooting at them, but you can see the ideal goal is just to drain those shield batteries, right? Utility, a very important thing. See, Gandhi hasn't crossed yet, so maybe thinking about it post lifeline utility. Got to be careful. Another barrage incoming. Teddy.
Got a care package. That's good.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you might as well stick around for it, right? And see what loot you get. But of course, as we talked about just a second ago before we'd interchanged the cameras, there's a G7 Scout that's holding down this very angle. For these boys here on screen, I don't think they're going to have much of an issue in just trying to find the damage. And maybe now enough is enough, right? We've done some damage. We've drained some of the shield batteries. Looks to be that Teddy wants to press some sort of issue.
I like this. Eddie's looking aggro. If they can get control of that care package, that will really help things out. I've seen a couple of cryptos come through from a few people just looking for information plays. For now, though, a reposition, and, well, for UTFT, they've got a much better place to be locking things out. The question is, though, how do they get through that Watson utility? For now, tempo slowed down a little bit. We're down to within our top 10, as we mentioned, so the points really start to rack up at this sort of stage, and things will get dicey. Look at the Watson utility down over here. Hang on a second, this could be a very interesting fight, because of course the side we see here is the Franco Brits, who finished number 1 in quals.
So, at least they're staying alive and chilling, right? I think, you know, for Eco, we were expecting maybe a little bit more. I took an early exit. I think the fortune from this, right, because originally we were going to have teams, well, at least we were under the impression we were going to have teams eliminated from the first week in, right? So
yes,
at least for them, least for them now, right, is the, as we said in the pre-show, as you said, the loss of the rounds, maybe a bad day, doesn't have as heavy implications as it would have before. So you're just playing basically to get the warm-up in ready for the live, so just providing the platform you can play, and you know, maybe you're testing new things, you're playing as a team, whatever. This is probably the most natural environment you can try it in when it's within a tournament, where sure, maybe there's not money up for grabs immediately, but you know, people are going to have their serious caps on, they're going to be trying their best, they're going to be forgetting about trying some gimmicky plays and trying to do something inventive. This is just pure Apex Legends. This is a fight for first place. This is as natural as it gets on the server.
Yeah, this is great perimeter security setup here as well. For things now, I gotta say that Franco Brit setup is huge, right? They've got a great position. They've got such a defensive setup in terms of their legends as well, with a Jibby online, and they've got themselves a Watson and then a Valkyrie to escape to if they need to reposition. It's a very, very good composition. Really, kind of just do a lock things out in terms of those preferences in terms of, you know, top 3, top 5 positions, and that's why this side was so good when it came towards the qualifier. I mean, that setup with the perimeter security, there's no way side's going to get in there unless they come from above. They're really going to struggle, or if they get beamed from range. For now, though, I think it's probably pretty unlikely. A slower sort of tempo here, because I don't think a lot of sides really want to push the agenda to fight those guys. But they've got great position, because that zone's going to be quite favourable to them.
Yeah. Just going to squeeze these 6 remaining squads together a little bit more. Oh, gotta be careful, UTFT. Zeddy are taking a fair bit of damage. Shield back going to come out. He's getting the heals as well. I do believe the lifeline helping out with that. Overall, again, it's just firing off shots. I'm wondering where the next gunfight is going to happen. And is this going to be a massive domino effect where teams want to jump in and third party? Or is it just going to be more chill, more structured, just playing to the final moments kind of attitude? We'll see. But 6 squads left, 18 players alive. Probably the final few minutes of this game coming up very soon.
Yeah, 2 sides dropping a care pack here as well, right in front of each other. But there's a fight going on over here. Hang on a second. This one getting dicey. Look at the lack of armor over towards Deimos. He will fall. Looking very, very good as J-Will Slay will come into rotation. French left all alone. Inside of the perimeter security, but surely not long lived for the world. He'd be spotted out. The Seer will cause problems. And down a fall. Great squad wipe coming through there. And a great position to lock out. What to say for Makes a Murky. Not too bad of a position for them. They're right on the edge of the zone. Hang on a second though. Kind of taking a fairly decent amount of damage.
That was a very clean fight from the Murky boys as well, right? Like, I'm not too sure how much we were paying attention, but the fact that it was 3-0, I mean, sure, there was a lot of players here that took a lot of damage, but there was no knocks, you know? There was no one put to their knees. There was no one that couldn't fire back. It was a very important set of engagements. They bounced off one another quite nicely, and it was very clinical that they were able to make it look so easy. They're obviously rewarded with all the loot of the players they just killed, and overall, they're actually in a position where they've got building cover. They're still inside the circle, like they're not taking any damage, and on top of that as well, they've got a way out. So pressure isn't really on the UTFT boys. They want to take height as they try and look for another fight.
They got aggro. They're inside the perimeter security. This gets dicey though. Knocks are gonna fall. The Arcstar combo. They're inside of the perimeter security. We were speaking about this earlier about how the Franco Brits have set this up so strong. been allowed to reposition off the back of that Valkyrie. This now really changes that high ground that we like to speak about from above. It's a great beam coming through. Co's going to fall. One of the bigger names coming in for the Franco-Brits. The Frenchman himself will fall. This now not looking good at all for the Franco-Brits. The #1 side in terms of qualifying, already losing one of the most important factors.
Tags up. We know UTFT have been quite clinical in this game so far, so I don't think there's any need to really press the issue all too much. Although, yet again, starting to get tickled, starting to burn down that utility a little bit further, but they are going to be focusing that circle. They want to make sure they get involved. Just going to get right in. No worries. Now they can watch teams on rotation. That's key. They've got the position. Other teams have to push them.
Yeah, this zone's rough, though. There's not a lot of coverage. This can get very, very dicey. As long as they can just deny a little bit of the flank. Actually, going to go aggro. This is super aggressive. Red armor as well is going to be tough, but one will fall. Makes it all the more easier. UTFT aside, who struggled a little bit in qualifiers, looking not too shabby here by any means. And they take that position and should be able to take that red armor. Loba does make it easy as well with the healing coming online. Shield Bass can come through as well. That's a charge rifle tapping away from range and not going to be able to find too much success. As Gang are going aggressive, and this could work against them as one will fall.
Super important. Damage needs to be done. We need to see a response because one down. Phelpsy nearly losing out on all of the shield. It's down to the HP bar and he's only got half of it left. He's going to have to dance on top of the boxes trying to find the shots. He's done good damage. He knows it's into the HP. Going to try and back away, but there's only one left for the job now. It's Kipper for Gang. He's got to hold on against the remaining lot and the HP starting to burn away, and that will be an
Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to ESL Apex Legends Premiership. Now, game #1 has been concluded, and it's somewhat of a surprise victory. UTFT with a fantastic performance on them. We got concerned, as they were very aggro from the get-go, but it worked super, super well for them, and they've ended up getting a fairly decent amount of kills and a great, I want to point to the board off the back position. That's 12 points at first base position.
Yeah, I want to give him a little bit of a prop, right? Because as we touched on, you brought up a good stat line, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit further, right? Is they got 17 points from placements, I do believe, right? They got 10 kills, 17 points, 0 wins in the qualifiers. They finished 10th, middle of the pack overall. Not ideal whatsoever, and the fact that they come out swinging, they've secured 12 points for a victory, of course, they've been the champions of game 1, plus the kills that they've got. I'm not too sure how many. I think we'll see in a moment when we are ready to bring up the graphic to show all the scores, right? And so already they're exceeding expectations of what we saw for them in the qualifier. I think another discussion, we saw them earlier on the screen, is the Eco boys, right? What happened? They were dropped out so early on.
Yeah, I mean, I think Eco really got punished by their own kind of overzealous, over-aggression coming through. We take a look at the standings after game 1 of round 1, and it's UTFT, of course, 19 points for them. 12 points off the back of positions.
Mate.
Great amount of kills coming through as well. I mean, 7 kills is fantastic. Murky did well in terms of the kills as well. 9 under their belt is really not too shabby. Gang coming in for a 2nd place as well. Credit to them. Gang were a side who I thought were a little bit of a meme off the back of the name and the great logo that they've got. But they put up a solid performance. Now, we kind of spoke about Eco. 6th place they stand overall. They didn't get a lot when it came towards positions. They only got 1 point off the back of their leaderboard position because they exited so early. But they did get fourth lack of kills. So there's positives to be taken there. One thing to mention on the other side, though, is the Franco-British Union showing how important it is to get preferential placements. 0 kills to them, and they got 7 points just by finishing so high up in the leaderboard.
Mate, 5th place, and you didn't shoot a single bullet to take someone down or to eliminate from the server. I was going to say, right, UTFT, 19 points. If you want to talk about that real quick, right, as I said just a second ago, they secured 17 in 4 games in the qualifiers now. So the fact that they've just turned up today, they've played 1 game, they've done better than the 4 they played in the qualifier, what's that mean for us, right? And I think you look maybe on the flip side of the coin, Eco, you actually held the bronze medal in the qualifiers. You came 3rd place overall and a very, very early exit in the beginning game of today.
Yeah, I mean, Eco, they were averaging kind of, just shy of 10 kills a game as a squad in the qualifiers, and they struggled to find any in towards that first. There were 4 kills, 1 point off the back of placement. Not exactly a dream start, I gotta say, for the Eco boys. And I mean, in my opinion, I would say that, they're one of the teams to watch out for. So this will really start to show about how maybe over-aggression is not exactly the best step forward, especially early doors and towards these kind of first few rounds. But we'll also show who will dominate when it comes towards consistency. That's really when things are going to start to pan out in terms of, ending up towards that playoff stage, looking towards some of that cash, right? You need to have consistency across the board. So, for UTFT, it's really positive early start for them. They got more points that one round than they did in the entirety of the qualifier. However, it now needs to be, the start of something. It needs to be a catalyst and further success. This can't just be a flash in the pan. If it's a flash in the pan, they'll still fall flat overall. So we'll have to wait to see how things pan out. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, that's just game 1. We've got 3 more to bring you for today, and of course 4 more tomorrow. It's a jam-packed couple of days of Apex Legends. But for now, we're going to throw this one to a break. When we are back, game number 2 coming out. We've already had a banging game number one. I gotta say, the ESO Apex Legends Premiership. We're ready momentarily to get underway in towards game number two. And UTFT, surprising us, they finished 10th overall in terms of the open quals. They have come out flying in towards game number one. And if they can continue to keep up this consistency, we could see a bit of a shock at the top where maybe some of the big guns, like your Ecos, for example, can't quite continue on what we expect to be a good run of form.
Yeah, I think we need to humble ourselves a little bit there, Neo, because as you said, there's a very long path still to be had in today's games, right? We're still one down, three to go. Like, the mentality needs to be, we need to play more. We need to keep the level that we had in our previous game for UTFT. A brilliant first display, you know, and I think you summed it up perfectly. The saying, it can't be a flash in the pan, is very, very straightforward thinking in this, right? You can't allow that game to be the only decent performance because, sure, it was a stonking performance in game one, but that's not enough to keep you at the top for the rest of today. There's going to be teams chasing. There's going to be teams adapting strategy, thinking new things. How can we get to the top? So UTFT, they need to stay on their toes, but a brilliant display in game one.
Yeah, you know, when it comes towards these sort of tournaments, especially when we got, you know, a couple of rounds, a couple of weeks until we get towards the players 4, to be precise, right? You've got to say that, you know, consistency is key and it's king, right? This is where you're going to find all of the kind of the longevity, the success. That's where you're going to be in contention for the prize pool. You have to have consistency on the board. But for UTFT, that is such a statement to open things up, especially off the back of, you know, a fairly okay qualifiers coming through. They have steamrolled their way through game one. I think sides now are going to be slightly concerned about if and how they're going to challenge this side, right? And that's where you look towards teams like Eco, for example. Aside in terms of kind of firepower, aside in terms of kind of what they can bring to the table as one of the better sides. They got some bigger names as well, but they really did struggle to open things up. They got 4 kills to their name, but they finished, you know, just outside of the top 10, right? And considering there's only 13 teams here, not exactly great.
Okay, game number 2 now. A bold prediction, Eco are going to win it.
Okay, all right. That
is not very bold in terms of, you know, the namesake and like, well, there's every opportunity, but I'll say it now. I reckon the bounce back's happening. Reality check between the maps.
I'll be interested to see if that does work out for them, right? I think for Eco, I think they basically just overextended, right? It's quite unfortunate, but that is just the case in the maths, right? We'll have to wait and see how things pan out. Now, to open things up, we might see a couple of fights over towards Big Mord, in fact. There's 2 teams dropped there. That could get very, very spicy. For the rest of the map, it's pretty okay. Bit of presence over towards Trials and Skyhook, and actually, I think UTFT are going to do Trials. So, you know, while that's great in terms of loot, it notifies everybody that they are doing Trials. So that might tempt people to go and try and take a fight there. Now, as we mentioned, there's a little bit of presence over towards Big Mord, and here it is. Potentially a fight to come through momentarily. A couple of pop shots being taken here. And Predator the West, they've got the high ground. That does favour them quite considerably. Valkyrie looking to go for that little bit of an elevated angle. Doesn't really want to overextend though. Needs to make sure as well not to be too open. Blade has taken a couple of taps.
Gotta be careful, man, because sometimes you can get removed from the server very quickly here if you don't stay on your toes and you know, keep yourself in check. Obviously, the weaponry isn't going to be amazing either. Attachment's going to be very limited. These early fights, you've got to be very careful for. I think the West are going to be learning about this a little more. Joe Bear got to be more cautious. I think for now, yet again, everyone Neo has just been silenced. Early game, as you'd expect, just dead quiet, mate. It's a library in the server today.
Yeah, it's very quiet early doors, and it probably should remain kind of more or less the same like that. I think, you know, maybe there's a bit of presence over towards kind of that Trial Skyhook area, as there was over towards Big Mord. I think realistically, UTFT, they probably won't be tested over towards Trials, even though teams will know they're there. I don't think it's really even worth testing, to be perfectly honest. So, for now, I'll play a little bit more on the more passive side, a little bit more in the older, quieter approach. There shouldn't really be too much happening to kind of open things up here, and that's where you look towards sides, just getting a lot of that early loot on board, like of course how you can do at Trials.
Okay. Silence yet again. Don't think I need to remind us all too many times that we're not even running at full capacity, right? So
yeah.
When you think that maybe, oh yeah, there's half a chance that some action happens early on, I guarantee you it's going to be when the first few minutes of the game come in, like it's dead silence, dead silence. So yeah, right now we're chilling. We're not going to be doing much. just enjoying the game, really. Let's see where the circle lands. I mean, quite similar to where it was last time. I'm not going to lie. No changes in placement. So I'm wondering if, as I said in the pregame, if there is going to be change in strategy.
Just to mention that UTFT have been given Trials and Skyhook for free, more or less. I mean, that is huge in terms of probably the loot they can rack up. There is a rotation coming through, and you can see that team down over towards Countdown might want to rotate their way up, potentially. Especially since there's a little bit of a congregation in towards that Lava Fissure area. But now if you're looking towards kind of the top middle of your screen, 3 teams all converging on the same point. This could get slightly dicey, I gotta say.
Yeah.
It should be an early engagement there. Same can be said over towards kind of that Lava Fissure Countdown area. So we could see an early few teams drop out, potentially even UTFT getting challenged early doors in towards game 2.
Yeah, I was going to say, for everyone right now in the top left-hand corner, there could be some massive third-party fights going on right now, you know? Like, there's a lot of teams in close proximity to one another, as you said, in Lava Fissure. It's got to be careful. Obviously, they're right by Countdown right now, so maybe some more teams want to rock up. But yeah, absolutely. As soon as the shots start firing off and people are notified sort of with the audio, things could change. This could turn into a war zone very quickly.
Yeah, this could get a little bit more on the dicier side. We have to just calm ourselves momentarily. Back over towards August for now. These guys had an okay run out in towards game number 1. I think they got third party quite unfortunately. Charge rifle on deck as well. Decent position to hold. I think for the early time, we don't really want to see too much of a fight coming through, and that's probably kind of the better way to play it. Looking for information. Also a little bit of that utility. I'm getting peppered though at range. This does get a little bit dicey. The Watts is setting up at least that perimeter defense to deny a little bit of that presence coming through. They need to be careful though. They are really stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, certainly. Things are only going to get more difficult over time as well. Let's see. What is going to go on? What is going down? 36 players, 13 squads. So I think a couple of losses right on the server. My maths, I've got an E in it, so while it might fail me, that should be 39 players, not 36. So there's definitely a couple of people that have been removed. You can see Cat Jam have lost player. Is that his actual name, by the way? Is his name actually player, or is someone just funny and they've changed it?
No, it actually is player. No.
Okay. I see the creative juices were flowing when they came
yeah,
up
they
with
really
were. With the username that they were going to put forward.
Had a long, hard sit down and thought, what should I name myself?
What should I call myself? I think player has a ring to it.
There we go. It's worked. Now, rotation coming through. There should be a fight here as well. The armor isn't really looking great. See over towards, Joe Bear taking a quite considerable amount of damage. He's in the zone, in fact. He might not survive that. He's taking a lot of damage from the zone. He might fall to it. Look at him now. He got to heal up if he wants to be careful. Fight coming through, though. Early combo going to find Blade, which will open things up. One of those kind of the earlier kills and will deny him being rezzed. Potentially even gear up as well.
Right.
I can't see that banner being collected either. It's too far into the zone.
Yeah.
It'd be so costly.
I think it's a bigger risk than it should be reward. I do believe there was a team that have just been eliminated. Combo, got to be careful. Kiffer's gone down, so Gang already going through some trials and tribulations to the start of this second game. Phelpsy's doing a run right past him. Just at this point, I think just trying to get the HP up, right? Get your shields back in check. Now maybe look for a revive. Obviously, you want to get back into the ring as well, because that is going to definitely harm the HP bars a little bit more. His teammate of Combo's a little far away as well, so for the time being, maybe they want to gather up the troops, get ready, go in with all your resources. Combo's dropped Zuni. It's Eco that are involved in this engagement as well. No. So now they're going to give it another go. They had a topsy-turvy game in number 1. Number 2 could be the exact same story. Look at the HP here of Harold. He's surely got to pop meds. How has he not done it? He's super low. He is going to go. And just in the circle in time, shield back pulled. Young Hong Kong going to bring his shields back up. But fortunately, taking this position, sure they leave Zuni in a drought. They are in no position to say no, because the team that they're against are going to have to push into them.
Yeah, speaking of as well, Gang, they finished second in towards game number 1. Eco had a rough time. And now Gang might struggle to escape. It's a little bit of a laboured spray. And Young Hong Kong's left all alone now. 1 versus 2, if I'm right in saying. Arcstar will come out. A lot of damage dealt. Broken armor. We'll find the kill as well. Important. Octane. Always try and hightail it. Try to get his way out of the zone. But he's so low on HP. Will just about escape from harm's way.
I will have a comment maybe afterwards on this engagement because I got my personal reservations. Focusing back in on it. Combo. Get a med kit. Bring a teammate back up. Get Phelpsy back in the server so we're double the force, double the firepower. And that's a luxury Eco don't have because Hong Kong against 2, it's a lot of damage, but he himself is quite low. Now has to use the Octane ability once again, but the bleed out will be enough. Eco eliminated once more, and I said I have my reservations. Nao, why the hell are we pushing back in there? Why don't we wait for them? We've got the ring, we got the circle, we got the damage that ticks away. And you're going to push back in and try and catch them off guard. A very big misplay that costs them more placement points, that costs them more kills and more chances to get themselves on the scoreboard.
And UTFT about to get a freebie here as well. Lovely beam coming through. Mr. Potato going to fall out. A couple of kills getting pulled up here for UTFT. Already getting a few points. All being tested as well. The third party didn't quite make it in time in terms of finding the kill, but at least getting a little bit of damage on towards Tax. He will shield back coming through. Get the gold armor back intact. Now just needs a med kit to get himself fully functional. Actually, the Loba can do its job. In the grand scheme, not too bad. He's just going to fall away. I think it's probably a smart call from UTFT. They don't really need to be, taking an engagement there, especially when it's so far into the open. Shieldback's coming online. Nice and easy here for Mythic just to rotate back away. And I think if I'm right in saying for Mythic, they're in a little bit of kind of that no man's land, but they're really not going to be tested too much. Now, Jay Will Slay got the high ground. I think we may have seen Jay Will Slay with a charge rifle earlier. There it is, in fact. Trying to find some damage at range. A lot being dealt, in fact. Jay Will Slay causing problems. That charge rifle, if lined up properly, can be a real problem. And he's showing exactly why. And he's got the flatline in support as well, so we can take those close engagements. This could get very dicey. Murky in a good position. And, of course, great utility coming through.
Just applying pressure. That's all they want to be doing at this point, right, Murky? Because, sure, you're not pressing issues. You're not trying to get kills. You're simply putting the opposition in a position where they feel more vulnerable, which is, in turn, a bigger opportunity to make a move. And there's your big one, because that's a brilliant burst down from kind of knocking down Miloshki. Going to use shield bats once again, maybe stick himself back into the action here, tapping away, trying to find some damage. There we go, good amounts done. Got to be cautious, even more damage. Got to be careful from behind. They're going to start pushing in. They're going to start doing all the damage in the world, trying to basically cause mayhem in this building. They've done exactly that. Dream Chasers are eliminated, but hot on their heels is another team. No rest for the wicked here, because it's all kicking off part after part, piece after piece.
That's huge for Murky. It really is. Jay Will Slay at range with that charge rifle causing a couple of issues. I've got to say, the Seer coming through as well. The exhibit came online. It made things all the more uncomfortable. And speaking of, look at this. Another exhibit used. UTFT, hang on a second. Are they down to just one? No, two. Tax is very low. No all of them. So a shield bat has to come online. They have lost. That's a dire, which does make things all the more uncomfortable for them. They've taken a really hefty engagement here and made things uncomfortable. No res to come through is huge. It does make things a little bit easier. That horizon just denying the res coming through. But even still, they are really stuck in a horrible place because they haven't got the zone on their side.
Yeah, 100% UTFT. Harsher climate that they live in right now because, of course, one of their teammates, the banner, needs to be recovered. I wonder how deep in the circle it is and if it's possible to get, or, you know, all of those if, buts and maybes. Maybe we'll have some questions answered in just a second. The mains was thinking about exiting the building. Artstar landed to his right. Not for me, good sir. I'll go back in. The wingman flatline combo. Continuing to play at bay. Now maybe wants to get involved, wants to get stuck in, but just damage to the shields. Got to be careful because I'm pretty certain he doesn't actually have any batteries to bring it back right now. I think it's just medkits on it.
Can hopefully pick some up here, right? So it
there we go.
Okay, hang on though. You know, Nezadire is being looted off the back of their crate. This is a very, very congested area right now. Not exactly in the greatest of spaces, I've got to say. August parked up, got the Watson utility online, which just kind of can lock out everything. That perimeter defense causes a lot of problems, especially since they got the zone to their back, which is perfect. They can fall away, for the most part, pretty easily. Question for me is kind of where are the Franco Brits, right? We haven't really seen too much of them. They're not really kind of a side who like to take too many engagements. I'm not really too sure what we've seen from them. I have been spotted out at the Seer. I guess for now, they can just park up Jay Will Slay. They're kind of all taking a position each. Kinder will take the high ground this time. Jay Will Slay dropping into his low alongside Marsh Kage. And tempo slowed right down. Now we look how things pop out. Very aggressive. Looks like it's going to end up over towards, well, staging for now, it seems like. Which is just above.
Circle. So many players coming in from the north right now. If you're on that southern side, you're in a good position. French, charge rifle. So much damage. Knows he could be a game changer. Popping the shield cells. Need to waste any batteries right now. Wondering, what is the move here? Round 3, closing that ring again, getting smaller, forcing these players together even further. You can start to see there is some kills coming out. There is some knocks being brought forward for French. Now's the time to pop the battery, but maybe there's a team hot on the hills trying to get invested here.
Does he want to use the drone is the question. Probably not in that situation. All alone there. Wingman in hand, just trying to stay alive, right? When you're in that position where it's kind of a 1 versus 3, right? Just try and see if you can survive a couple of these third parties. This is getting dicey. Cal needs to be collected. Back up. Best come through. Arcstar coming online. Great spray coming through, but a lot of damage being dealt as French. Very, very low when it comes towards the armor. Rotates away back round and light beams to come through. A lot of damage being dealt as Demo's going to fire to 3. Yet one more as well as French will finish off Nick. Huge couple of kills. Res should come online, or so I say. As another fight comes through and the third party causes issue. Look at Rousey just underneath, staying alive for a wingman.
Good damage.
Oh, no.
There we go. Augulus eliminated. That's Franco Brits. You wondered where they were, Nao. Hello. Waving their hand right at you. As you said, couple of kills extra. Looking quite nice to see that, of course, there is damage, there is kills, but more importantly, there's 6 squads left, so the opportunity still at large, especially with a squad of 3, to get yourself involved and get in that top spot.
Becky with a spray coming through as well. 199 tries to the close angle. Great position for it. And a Mastiff will be dropped out from the high ground. Jay will slay. Just find himself that nice kill towards Phelps. It's important. Kinder as well causing a couple of issues. The Arcstar will come through, but they should be able to escape their way. They have been spotted out though. The Seer causing problems, and the Beam going to do quite a chunk of damage and crack the armor too. They're in a horrible place here. UTFT, they are really in a horrible place. Because they've got to rotate through some messy kind of no man's land. And even when they do, potentially, you know, the single man of Rousey could just make it all the more uncomfortable. Great use of the Valkyrie ult just to get away from that one. There's no point trying to take a fight there. Use that Skyward dive just to reposition.
Yeah, so here we go. Running right in. You want the circle? Well, you've got it. So you said the rotation utility used to a T. Wondering now, what are we saying? 5 squads left, 11 players in the server. That ring, minuscule to where we started. Fight breaking out murky. Going to be taking a bit of a tussle with some players below. It might be the UTFT boys if I'm not mistaken. Some damage being done. He's going to be pinging. Marsh, watch out. There's a player below you. You can see kind of trying to edge around the corner. Wingman brought out 45 damage. It's gold shields. So you've got to be careful. But indeed, does do a bit of damage. Indeed, it's the UTFT boys because Nazedi is gone. Now maybe you look to press down. Now maybe you look to try and close the margin and force the hand. But Murky just want the high ground. They're going to continue to do damage to the shields. They're going to continue to force them into an error. And maybe, just maybe, they can capitalize upon this because as the ring starts to close in even further, they're just going to walk into the crosshairs of Murky. The high ground pays dividends here.
Yeah, this position for Murky is brilliant. I mean, UTFT, they are stuck in a horrible place. See, the rotation of Franco Bits coming through, which denies the UTFT guys rotating away. Kinder's off from the high ground, needs to be careful. He can be popped away from range. G7 Scout might be quite ideal in this sort of position. Maybe in the R301 if they want to beam. But for now, looking for information. Great, and they will find some. Mention about how important that Seer can be. Just basically wall hacks. The focus of attention is so strong. As a kind of a bit of a tactical ability, use a lot to be used there. They have got the ult if they want to use it as well. The exhibit can come online. Not really necessary at the moment, but it will make things or alleviate a little bit of this pressure that they're in right now. Even still, I've got to say, the position that Murky hold is fantastic. They've got the high ground. They've got the zone to their back as well, so it means that the rotation in towards that next zone is going to be super easy for them. In the grand scheme, they're in a very strong place. And the Franco Brits aren't really too bad either. It's UTFT who are in a bit of a horrible spot.
Yeah, I'm wondering how they're going to kind of wriggle out the position that they're in, because obviously they're safe right now, but you're going to have to chop and change your location. Basically, as soon as that ring starts to close once more, you can see Marsh pinging off. I see someone behind that box. The R301 is just going to be holding down the line. Wants the information. There you have it. Now I know everything I need to know. It's time to unload some lead. Fair few opportunities now to find it, and there you have it. Kieran Uzi gone down to his knees. Actually, Predator West eliminated. Wasn't even down. He's eliminated. He's out. 3 squads left. 8 players remain.
Great position as well, Franco Brits. Once again, they're just locking out what we said about the zone, right? This is where the kind of passive setups for them have been so successful. It's what netted them that strong position off the back of the qualifiers. They just play time. All they have to do is play for positions. 2 squads left, and they've got the zone. They know the rotation has to come in towards them. They have got a brilliant setup to work with. The Valkyrie online. Great bit of use coming through as well with a missile swarm. In the grand scheme, they can just continue to keep them outside of the zone and then hope that the zone causes all the damage they need to. A couple of taps coming through the flat line. Not exactly the best for that position, but for now, better than the R45, RE45, may I say. Script collected. Rampage as well, red rampage. In fact, this can cause some serious issues. This is a melter of gun if used correctly and crack some armor so comfortably. Clone as well on a new legend. Don't often really see Clone on the Catalyst, so interesting to see how he can wield it. Either way, for now, tempo slowed down. I think when you look over towards the other side, while they've got the high ground, I really can't see a way about how they're going to escape and get in towards the zone. This is going to be very difficult for them.
Certainly the case. 2 squads left. 6 players remain. So this is the battle of it all. This is the do or die. Jay will Slay having a good look, kind of sitting above them both, and he's just going to fire off. Of course, the circle's starting to close in that little bit more, so a fight is brewing. It's the question of who finds what. Basically, the first person to get it down here, I feel like, wins this fight, because the firepower is just so instrumental. There's no third party. It's you versus the people on the other side of the map to you right now, and it's about who can find the shots and who can do the damage.
Gotta say as well, on the other side, there's a couple of ults online when you look towards that Seer, the exhibit coming on for the Franco Brits could be instrumental to a lot of success. Basically, just wall hacks could really help. Now, Kinder's got aggro. A lot of information in terms of the sound cues. The question is, does he want to pull the trigger? This could get dicey as we see a little bit of a look in. Trying to catch them in rotation. This could get aggressive, though. Trying to catch them rotating their way forward. Melted the armor of one, looking for more. That RE45 can cause a couple of problems. That goes right there. It is. Looking for the down. Won't be able to find it. Everything looking good. And against the Franco Brits.
Yeah, gotta be careful. AJX is gone now. Maybe, just maybe, they're gonna look for the damage the Peacekeeper brought out. He wants them blood here, Clone. He's lost all of that shield, so has to bring it back up. Wondering, is AJX in a position where they can bring him back up, where they can get him back into the game? And yes, they can. So kicking their teammate back into the action. Still 6 players. They're gonna have to spend some time on the res, and that means there's gonna have to be a fight ensuing. 21 rounds left in this car. No, Noxer, excuse me. He's gonna have to do a lot here. Jay looking for damage, looking for shots, and of course they have it. Finally, we see this fight brewing. It happened for a long time. It was bound to happen. But the players on screen that you see, they've got themselves the champion's name in Game 2. 12 points to their name. More integrally, they've got themselves a win. And that's a big one to have under their belts. Your victors in Game 2.
Yeah, Merc had a fantastic performance. I'm going to say Kinder individually as well was great. Not only did they get the first place finish, they also got the kill leader as well. So they're going to get a lot of points from the back of this. I mean, Kinder individually, I think he ended up one of 6 kills. I mean, that's very good in terms of points. And that should really change the table at the end of the days. We're going to throw this one to a break. When we are back, we'll talk about everything happening towards game number 2. Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. What a performance for Murky as they take game number 2. It's a pretty decent fight against the Franco Brits in the end there, and I thought potentially the high ground of the Franco Brits might have been enough, but not to be. Kinder had a corker of a performance, ending as the kill leader, which means the points for Murky off the back of that game are going to be phenomenal.
I hate to think how many points it is, you know. We'll have a look, obviously, in just a second. Was going to point out a brilliant flank at the end of the game from Murky there to secure it, and we were talking about the positioning, of course, of the British side, right? We were complimenting them. They had the high ground. They had every opportunity to close the show. In all honesty, they should have been able to do so from that position, because obviously, I think back to the Franco-British Union, or sorry, to the Franco-British Union, and they had the high ground, right? I think it was it was the UTFT boys that were suffering from so much elevated pressure. They just didn't know what to do. They kind of seized and froze under that pressure. You can see on screen here, of course, this is kind of the beginning and the end of this game. 4 squads left. Brilliant positioning from Murky. The Franco-Brits, of course, had the high ground, but yet they were able to come second place. Not quite the champions that we were expecting. Brilliant job from the lads over at Murky.
Yeah, Murky as well. I mean, he really... Murky, as a squad, stepped up. But Kinder, for me, was just fantastic. I think it's something I have to highlight in terms of just individually stepping up. But the support was fantastic. You see how, they use that seer so well for them. Barely even needing to use the exhibit as well when it came towards information plays. Everything seemed to work very, very nicely for them. Even though the Franco-Brits had the zone in their favour, everything was looking good for them to see things off over towards kind of, just above staging, right? In a bit of no man's land. But hey ho, that's how things work out for Murky. They should be, well up in towards kind of the top 2, maybe potentially even number 1 off the back of that. I know Gang had a fairly decent run in terms of a couple of kills. Eco again dropping out early, quite problematic for them. This is a side who finished 3rd overall in open quals. And for the second time running now in the 2 games that we've seen, they finished outside of the top 10. They're going to be struggling in terms of points as we take a look at the round standings. Murky, no surprises, swing their way into first place with ease. 25 points, 13 kills as well. I mean, that was a ridiculous showing for them. Franco-Brits, credit to them. They did really, really well in terms of the position. They just soared out into towards the second place with the points to them. Very, very good. And the 4 kills on top of it is not a bad cherry on top.
Okay, so I'm looking at the scores right now. I'm just wondering how good the position looked for Murky in the first game and sort of if they'll match up overall. I think you are right though, Nao. I think they soar into first place after that performance in the second. They looked unbelievable. Obviously, the big question is we're now halfway through our day. Less opportunity for mistake now. This needs to be a time that you just capitalise completely. This is a time that you really push the boundaries. You've really got to hunt for the pot of gold. And in an ideal world, maybe sure we're not playing for eliminations now, but if we were to be resuming the old format, at the end of the day, the bottom of the scoreboard, you want to be starting to make some plays, right? You want to start doing your gimmicks because you're not going to be settling for the bottom half of that scoreboard. You want to be pushing yourself up there. So now is the time for teams to get a little dirty and maybe play the backhand rather than the forehand.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, off the back of that, potentially we can see, UTFT drop down into a second place overall, potentially Murky taking first, maybe then even a Franco-Brits taking the 3rd place, but they've been pretty consistent in terms of their positions. But we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, let's we're going first one to a break when we are back. Game number 3 out of 4 of the day coming up. Sit tight. We'll see you in a minute. Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the ESL Apex Legends Premiership. 2 games done, 2 more to go as we are just about to head in towards our 3rd round out of 4 of today's proceedings. We just see Murky dominate in towards game 2, which shoots them towards the top of the points leaderboard. UTFT just in behind. We've got the likes of the Franco-Brits as well, holding up in towards kind of, seeing out towards the top of the pack. There's a couple of names started to rise above the rest, and a couple of big names who are falling a little bit down. Ego, one to have to mention. They have been struggling in terms of they're a side who we really expected to be one of the better performers, and it hasn't been the case.
Yeah, if I'm honest, I'm not going to draw any conclusions just yet. I don't think there's any underlining to be done. I don't think there's any uppercasing to be done. No use of the bold at all. There's no need to paint and sugarcoat whatever. we're still halfway through the day. We've still got 2 games to go. We've still got a bundle of points to give out between these teams. I think the biggest question for us, though, Neo, is consistency. Because I think the only consistent result for me personally that I've been seeing is early exits and eco, right? Yeah. Like, that's the only thing that I've been seeing, drawn a line between 2 games, right? Sort of connecting the dots a bit here. We need to see change. We need to see everyone consistently performing, whether that is towards the bottom half or the top half. We're seeing a lot of different things, and sometimes it happens, you know, you can have your off game, but now I think it's a time to start to see repetition. It's a time to start seeing success, because for some of these teams, especially sitting in the bottom third, sort of your bottom half, you don't want to be sitting there at the end of the day. You want to be pushing towards that top half, so you need to start making changes.
Yeah, you know, of course, you know, no elimination, which is the nice thing. It's not kind of that looming pressure on their head, but when you want to be qualifying towards the playoffs, where, you know, there's a lot on the line, a lot of cash up for grabs as well. You want to be hopefully, you know, getting things, you know, sorted out, iron out the kinks, making sure there's no gaps in the armor into the group stage, and then really solidifying when it comes towards the players. And we're seeing, you know, potentially not as much of that as we would have hoped, right? We're not really seeing kind of some of those big guns step up. I think for Eco, you know, twice they've been caught in terms of rotation coming through to try and get towards a better zone. And it means that, you know, losing out a fight, losing out a couple of players early doors has meant things have been very, very tough for them. We are about to get on the way into our 3rd game here of the day. A question of, can Murky continue their consistency, continue their dominance in towards the 3rd game? If they can, this becomes really, really good for them to set up a lot of points in towards kind of week 1.
All right. Let's see it. Ooh. And we've got funky tunes playing as it's happening. Yeah?
I've got this flex.
Flex. I like it.
Good memories.
Looking at the map, I was going to say, top left, UTFT might have some early engagements to be taken care of here. Towards the bottom of the map, I think everything's fine. So actually, more focus maybe towards Eco and towards UTFT here, because there's a fight brewing top left, top right.
Yeah, UTFT really liking trials. I mean, they went there last time, and you know, in all fairness, they ended up in towards kind of some of those last engagements. Rousey, we saw him; he was just staying alive as much as he could in towards the late game in game number 2. Now being tested, he should fall momentarily. This should be a comfortable cleanup. And it will be. Yanni falls to the hands of Blade. Not exactly looking too comfortable for Predator West, though, because they themselves are being third-party from above, as Joe Bear has to try and, as much he can, try and fall away. He's low on HP. Oh, hang on already.
Gotta be careful.
He's on a load as well. He's on top of the banners. This is not exactly pretty at all. You're going to set up the perimeter defense, but even escaping is going to be difficult here. He's in a horrible scenario.
Oh, shield cell as he turns the corner. Playing with fire, but extra HP could be the difference maker. Switching back out to the EVA 8. Having a look. Can't get through the doors. Where else do I go? I'll pop another cell. Try and get the HP up even further. Now I'll make an emergence through the doors. Micro drones protected. He's compromised, and I think he'll be a dead man very, very soon.
Yeah, I mean, already you've kind of see it. Using a lot of that photo attention, a lot of that exhibit coming through with the ult, right? I mean, just causing problems. Valkyrie rotates his way back in, trying to find a bit of aggression, walking through the perimeter defense. Does think it's like Joe Bear is super low. Needs to get a little bit of HP and those shields online. Already Predator West. I mean, they have not exactly, well, they found and won their first fight. Trying to set themselves up to a second hasn't been the prettiest. X-Sides will just about somehow fall away. And by picking up a shield bat as well, should be able to get towards those full shields momentarily. I think he ran low on shield cells earlier. So, no, Phoenix Kit, in fact, will be popped by him. Of course, low HP, low shields. Best choice for him. He's being surrounded by Predator West, but even still, I think he actually should be okay to fall away. The only thing is I don't think he can pick up those banners.
Yeah, I think there are limitations to this, right? And that is, it's too much of a risk for you and your team if you are to go and collect the banners again. It's just the sensible decision, really. Chill out, don't worry. Get yourself stuck into to a bit of loot. UTFT, this is a fight that I was talking about from the beginning. A circle that lands top left. Is that top left again? I think it's a little more centered to the northern side, but still giving it a good go here, the UTFT boys, getting stuck in early doors.
UTFT, I like the kind of, controlled aggression they've been going for. They're very good in terms of map awareness as well. We spoke about how good it was for them, continuously locking off Trials and getting Skyhook as well alongside it. Really has helped them out. And speaking of, in towards Skyhook, taking a little bit of a fight. Just break him in a range with the flat line. A weapon that has had multiple nerfs, buffs over its time with an Apex. At the moment, fairly decent in terms of the grand scheme of heavy weapons. Tempo slowed down once again. 12 squads remaining. Only lost 1. 4 now. 32 remain alive. Bit of that slower approach coming through. We didn't see as many engagements as I would have probably expected. Obviously, August rotating the way over. Cowl, purple armor for him. Not exactly too shabby at all. Well, thankfully, actually, for Bread of the West, they've actually managed to loot up a bit as well. I mean, they were taking fights and engagements earlier with kind of just that grey armor online. Now, at least, they've got a bit of a, purple blue to work with, a bit of the rare, bit of the commons, just making it a little bit easier for them because they were taking a lot of damage to kind of, just the standard weapons coming through. Looking a bit better now for them.
Alright, not the worst, but obviously for X-Sides, he's on his own. Both respawn banners timed out. Really are left basically to make do with what you got. 12 squads left, 32 players remain. Yet again, it's going to be an even slower start than the last one, just because there's people already. For Cat Jam, they've lost a couple. Doing the math, there should be 36, there's only 32, so we've lost, what, 4 players right now that are left, at least a man down. Some team's going to be at a bit of a disadvantage here, and one of those could be Team Void, under a lot of pressure right now.
Caustic. We haven't really seen too much of Caustic in towards our, the first 2 games. I had to see Team Void use, and Team Void aside as well, who haven't really had the best of, times in this opening 2 games. So we'll hopefully see something can be found off the back of that Caustic, get a decent amount of control being set up as well with the gas traps, and see potentially if they can just cause a couple of problems. Also, it blocked off the doors as well, which means getting inside there's going to be tough.
Yeah. A lot harder than just, walking right through. And also provides them a little bit of security, as you said, right? Just buying time, making space, doing everything you need. And, well, hold on a second. Eco. I kind of flamed them at the beginning of the last game, saying the only consistent factor we've seen today is them in low end of the table in terms of placements. Can they change things here with the key engagement breaking out?
Yeah, they are the kill leader as well. 3 kills to their name is going to make things look decent in terms of points, but they need to get the positions up. We spoke about Arctic getting tagged from range. This gets dicey. Does have that gold helmet to work with. The blue armor takes a fairly decent amount of damage. Marsh Cargate will find himself 1. There's Murky. We said, what can they do in terms of consistency coming towards game number 3? Not a bad start. They find themselves a kill. Good amount of position as well to just try and loot up as best they can. They kind of over towards that left-hand side of the survey camp, so for them, not exactly too bad. They could rotate it back over towards Skyhook if they really want to, but I don't think it's really necessary. Without the zone set up, they're not in too bad of a position. They can get some further loot as well, and Marsh Cargate trying to force them further back in towards the zone itself. Trying to escape it. If they want to fall back over towards survey camp, it's going to be very difficult for the other side.
Oh, this is such a bad position to be in for the players that they're engaging on right now. They are backed into a corner. No way out. Are they going to try and play the game of chase? They're going to try and reintroduce them back in. Zuni's been knocked down. Combo. He's found some kills. So Eco in the meantime going to take some damage. As you said, it's a good set of utility. Now the fight's breaking out once again. Joe trying to find something. The shield back coming out. And actually, Marsh knocked down to his knees and very low HP. Joe will slay. You've got to be careful. Just about getting out, but that's 1 player eliminated. Teddy finishes his dinner.
I mean, Kinder found a kill as well, so things are looking very, very good for Murky, and now they've started to fall a little bit flat. Mythic causing problems. The spray coming through as well. The zone's their back three. Not going to help. The third party coming through, trying to re-engage, trying to take aggression. That's a great knock. Looking for more as well, but it's going to be problematic. It's a Mastiff on the other side, which is going to cause further issues, and it is a messy engagement, which is looking, oh, at the moment, not good if you're a Mythic fan. Only Slay left alive, and not for much longer. Slay will be dropped down by J Will Slay, and Murky survive a significant scare. Yeah,
that looked really scary. Only losing Marsh is a real big benefit, and as you can see, respawn point 50 meters away. They're not going to be complaining about that one. Marsh can just get back on his feet. He can run right back to his loot, get everything that he had previously. And ultimately, that's just some free points in the back pocket, right? Whoever won that engagement, didn't matter how many casualties you took, there was always a respawn point right next to you. I don't think it's going to be too contested. I think you're fine. Was going to mention, do believe Eco are completely down to 2 now. I don't think there's a way back in for their teammate.
Ooh,
Zinni and Bardo left.
Rough. Yeah, that isn't exactly a dream. So, the zone, over towards the left-hand side of Epicenter, slightly in towards Survey Camp 2. Not exactly the worst position by any means. Epicenters are always a bit of a brawl as well when it's in those final zones. So, if it finishes up in that sort of direction, this could become quite dicey. Look to the right-hand side as well. This was nice Joe Bear Blade as well. They got a nice flank coming through. It's going to be a messy fight coming towards Epicenter now, though.
Bardo's taking massive damage. As you said, the fight is breaking out. Wondering what's it looking like. By the looks of things, Phelpsy and Co disengage, maybe. We can see on screen some shots breaking out. Don't know what's going on. UTFT want to now challenge. Bit of a scare beforehand, but I feel like better equipped to this fight here. The fellas in front of you, of course, won their last fight. UTFT going to try and make them go 1 for 1, but I don't think it's going to be easier said than done. The fight is breaking out. Really good damage. Genji's doing so much from the roof right now. Like, that's 2 shields completely cracked. No pressure, though. Very good discipline from UTFT. They do not want to challenge. They're happy doing the damage. They're happy burning utility. And they're happy backing away.
Yeah, number 1 versus number 2. I mean, this is really interesting for Murky. I think once they realised that was UTFT, I don't think they want anything to do with it. Probably actually the right way to play. They know they're one of the hotter contenders coming off the back of game number 1, right? They'd rather finish comfortably within that sort of top 10 rather than try and engage, take a messy fight against UTFT, potentially be left with kind of, 1, 2 remaining alive, and struggling to get the resurrect off the back of the banners. So I think for them, smart decision. Get the information, fall back, recollect themselves and see what further they can find. The best way to play it. Try to set themselves in towards the zone. Speaking of, Predator West, on just the outskirts of the zone, played Heartbeat Sensor. Was having a little look-see. Not going to find too much, though. For now, can use that focus of attention if he really wants to, but in the grand scheme, all they have to do is stay alive for now. They're in a fairly decent position where they should be able to just sneak their way into the zone pretty uncontested.
All right. 9 squads, 22 players. A lot of teams right now are left with slight disadvantages. 9 squads, that should be 27 players. Looking a lot less right now. 22 of them, to be precise. Might just be 21 because Joe Bear knocked to his knees. And Kieran got to be careful not to suffer the same fate. Trying to get away, but the pressure is amalgamating. Great job. AJX finding some damage. Nox are providing pressure. And with that, Predator West was eliminated. Their 9th place. Now to our top 8.
Predator West. Yeah, that's really plays XG for them. Just for now. Here we see the Franco Brits. They, of course, one of the sides that we were really keeping an eye on in terms of just generally speaking in towards this season. I mean, of course, they finished top place in towards the quals. They finished second in that previous game, just losing out towards Murky. And now, in terms of their loot, they're looking pretty decent. Purple armor across the board really isn't too bad. Another change in composition for them, though. That is very interesting to see. They are more than happy to flex coming through. We saw the Catus in towards the previous game. Of course, for them now, bit of a change coming through, rocking the horizon.
I mean, I like it. Sometimes these changes are needed, right? Just keep your enemies on your toes. Like, you never know what you're going to get against a team that's willing to chop and change so much. Clone, losing all of his shield right now. Got to be careful. Shield back up. Silence. 7 squads left. Circle continues to shrink. Fights are bound to be breaking out very shortly. The question is, who's going to come out on top in this game? Because I think we've got a lot of contenders that are hungry for their first win.
That's it. Still some of the big hitters in, like these guys, because Murky, champions of game 2. But for now, actually, in a very nice position, you got to say to them. For them, they don't need to do anything too special. They're, well, I mean, just outside of survey camp, right? They're actually absolutely chilling right now. Don't really need to do anything too special. Can take a couple of pop shots at range if they really want to. The position is known, but it's not exactly an easy one to take. So I don't think any teams are really going to test the waters. They themselves, off the back of the charge rifle, might just get a little bit of damage on deck, but they don't need to be too aggressive. They're looking pretty good. Eco, a side who were very aggressive in towards our first 2 games, maybe overly aggressive. As you mentioned, only on 2 now. Arctic respawn has timed out, leaving just Bardo and Zuni. Bardo got that red armor though. That does make things, at the very least, pretty favorable for them.
All right. Very silent for now. Just seeing some rock climbing. There you go. So you know how people are always like, oh yeah, touch grass. Be like, yeah, mate, went rock climbing. Do you not see?
These rocks are always a menace to try and climb as well. You can get up it, but you've got to get like the right pixel. It's just annoying. It could just go around. I mean, it really could just go around.
Could.
I mean, you can also get information on the back of just the little bit of the jump peaks. It's very awkward to climb. You've got to climb on a very specific area. But I think they might just give up here and rotate their way back around. No, Zuni going to go for another attempt.
Mate, he reckons he's found the right... Oh, never mind.
No. Zuni rocking the bow, in
wow,
fact.
yes. Okay. Yeah, I mean, just about to
in certain hands, the bow is unbelievable. Not exactly a weapon I prefer to use, but some people make it look god tier. So we'll see if Zuni is one of those. But Ego were one of the sides in terms of frags. They were joint first with 33 frags overall in terms of the qualifiers. So, I mean, they've got it in the locker. Question is, does he have it in the locker with the bow?
See it. Clone's trying to lock in some damage. Getting beamed on top of the rock. That's a bat that needs to be used. So, a lot of information gathered, a lot of proxying of opponents. Zuni's looking for something here. Kraber in hand. Fires off the shot. Ooh. Misses. Got to be careful here with the Kraber, as everyone will know at home. Even I do. Limited ammunition. It's a great gun, but that is the biggest downfall. Is very limited opportunity to find that damage. So for them, got to be careful, got to stay on your toes, especially when you're down to 2 as well. Every single shot counts. Every bit of utility drain from your teammates is important. He spots someone up close, wants to fire off the Bochet. Doesn't give it a pop just yet, instead switches back out to the Kraber. Maybe Bardo now beckoning Zuni over. Let's not engage, let's play our lives.
Oh, messy spray coming through. Zuni got an interesting combo to say the least. The Bochet Kraber could work wonders for them. On the other side, UTFT. Got a decent amount of control over towards Epicenter. I mean, for them, they really don't need to do anything too overzealous right now. Things are not looking good for Jinx. He's low in HP. Might fall, in fact. Messy spray. Will find on the last from behind. That's a huge kill for Atenum. I couldn't even find more as well. Netadiah's not exactly looking pretty.
Got to be careful. The handmade burgers are down to 1. Atenum wants his way in, spotting out. Hello, good sir. Havoc in hand, trying to run down. Good damage. Only issue is, when you're 1, you're going to have a hard time in finding some damage and finding maybe some consistent kill points, because as you can see, handmade burgers are eliminated. 1 player gone. Game is over. Round 3 starting to spice up. 6 squads left. 13 or 5 squads left, because Gang has just been eliminated. 13 players left. In a very, very small circumference of a circle, things are going to heat up.
We spoke about what the Horizon can do, and there's a great example of that utility coming through. Pop shot coming in from behind.
Kraber's
will be dropped. Bardo left all alone. Only blue armor. Surely not one lives for the world for Eco. Trying to use the height advantage, will be chased down by Clone. The Franco Brits. Great push from them. Of course, the problem is it's left. Now with only 4 squads on the table. Franco Brits, who I think, we said we were going to keep an eye on. They were a little bit quiet towards game number 1. They've stepped up in these last few.
Roxas just got to get his health back. Phoenix kit, so do it in style. 4 squads, 11 players. Bubbling up to the final few moments. You can see a fight is bound to take place. Kind of challenging. I don't think that's a fight you're willing to take, though, especially after how convincingly they made it work here. You can see firing off shots. A charge rifle. There you go. Some shield broke at least. Jay Woolsley getting his way in. Ultimately, it's not going to be too impeding, though, on the opposition. Great shot. Just doing damage to the shields. That's all they want right now.
That's it. For now, slow.
Void.
Yeah, methodical. Can they pick up Netadiah? I don't think that's really a possibility at the moment. I think for UTFT now, it's about trying to stay alive. In this sort of position, 3 squads left. Of course, they're down to 2. So they're going to be playing in a 2 versus sort of 3 situation, trying to spray out range, trying to beam with their R3 or 1. I think realistically, UTFT, if they want any chance here, they're going to have to third party.
Well, they've got to move into the circle first and foremost, and that's into the enemies they just shot at. Had they have made it a peace treaty and maybe not fired off so soon, then they could have slipped in without having the overlooking eye. Got to be cautious because, of course, there's a fight taken out. Murky having a look from the heights. This is a really good position to be in for Murky because they have got the high ground. Good damage, broke the shield. Now they want to press the issue. Good damage. Jay will slay. They'll find Noxa to the first kill on the cards. Looking for another as well. Hiding behind the respawn beacon. Not going to be the case. Looking down below. It's so much damage. It's so much carnage. But I think we'll have our winners. Murky look too good right now. There's 2 players left. Marshall's got to be careful. He's backing away. Where's the HP bar's gone? There's a minute left to go. And pushing in they go. There we have it. Your champions, Murky. I think they've just got removed.
They did. UZFT, fantastic again from them. Second time we've seen them be the Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Now we've seen 3 games played out here at the ESL Apex Legends Premiership for day 1. As UTFT, who collect their 2nd dub of the day, with another fantastic game from them. Themselves and Murky are starting to rise above the pack quite significantly.
Yeah, I mean, 2 back-to-back victories. Well, not back-to-back, but 2 out of 3, right, in today so far. It was Murky that sandwiched the wins, and UTFT have consistently looked good in these games that they've won in, right? They've partaken in a lot of gunfights. They've got themselves a lot of points on the kill department, but more crucially, they're finding success in numbers when it comes to the victories in the champions' positions that they're finding themselves in. And if I'm honest with you, I'm a firm believer at this point, Nao, that even if they don't turn up for the 4th game, I think we see them at the top of the sheet at the end of today. They've looked unreal in the first 3.
I agree, and they're doing huge in terms of the numbers of kills, right? I think the UTFT have been super impressive when it comes towards not only kind of, seeing out that top first position, but getting a lot of kills on the board, which means that for they themselves, they should be climbing a little bit away in terms of, rising above the pack and rising above the rest. I think Murky will be pretty close just in behind off the back of their previous victory in game number 2, but in the grand scheme, the work that UTFT have been putting in so far has been, pretty monumental. We can see kind of themselves and Murky really climb off the rest. Maybe Franco Brit seeing off in towards that 3rd place, but even still, they're not exactly going to be close. I mean, those two for Murky and UTFT have really started to climb above the rest. They have been dominating in some pretty extraordinary fashion. I think for UTFT, you're spot on, right? Regardless of how things pan out in towards that final game, unless they finish, outside of the top 10, which is pretty unlikely in the grand scheme. I would be very, very surprised if we don't see these guys see off day 1 at the very least at kind of that top space. This is how things panned out towards round 3. You see 19 points for them, looking very, very good. Murky just in behind with 17. Eco, in fact, at 3rd. And for the Franco Brits, who've been doing a pretty decent job of keeping up on tail, only getting 5 points, not exactly the best.
Yeah, you know what, UTFT and Murky, great game from them too once again, and I'm excited to see the day standings, right, when all is said and done in round 4. Eco getting 3rd, a nice surprise to see for them, of course. They've had a little bit of a tough time in day 1 at least, in play day 1 here of the ESL Apex Legends Premiership. Question is, the 4th and final game now, how does it go, right? I think there's a lot of questions to be answered. Yeah. I think there's still a massive fight in the middle of the pack. I think for teams, they'll understand, do you know what? There's still chances that we can put ourselves on the board. We can put ourselves in some pretty decent placements. We've just got to have a decent 4th game here. Can you take a win away from UTFT and the Murky Boys combined, though? It's going to be difficult.
I know we've mentioned them a couple of times. It's probably worth mentioning off the back of that 3rd place finish for Eco, right? Off the back of them having their opening 2 games being pretty rough and then their 3rd pretty decent, they could really recoup a lot of their losses just off the back of a strong 4th game. I think those opening 2 games weren't really kind of just about how good this side actually is, what they can bring to the table. In terms of kind of the performances that we expect of them, especially when you look towards kind of the likes of like a Zuni or a Harrow, right? Those two have really put up some strong numbers, and Bardo seeing off the pack, right? They're a side who should impress us. And opening 2 games, I don't think did justice of what they can bring. That 3rd game, much, much more like them of what we'd expect. Why they finished 3rd overall in the open quals when, you got to remember that we are missing a couple of names in towards this first week. We don't have Invictus. We don't have it be like that sometimes, which means that Sodell's not present as well. We're missing a couple of the bigger names, even as well to probably add to that as well to start a fight. They're another side who always do just seem to cause problems.
I won't leak all too much, but the difference between 1st and 2nd place right now in terms of points is 5. That's how close it is towards the top of the pack between 1st and 2nd. I won't give anything away more than that. When we are back, we're straight back into the action. We're going to go to a break. 4th and final game up next.
Hello and welcome back, ladies and gents, to the ESO Apex Legends Premiership. Now, we're about to get on the way in towards our fourth and final game of today's action. Halfway point, of course, of the week. We've got tomorrow's action too. But so far, we have seen some stonking performances. A couple of names starting to really rise above the pack. It's been a really solid day out so far as well. A couple of names who really maybe haven't turned up in terms of performances we were potentially hoping, but recouped their losses. Eco, one to mention. And of course, at the back of that, UTFT have got to be somewhere up in towards that top two alongside Murky, because those two have more or less dominated today's proceedings so far. And we could take a look at the standings exactly as we expected. Murky and UTFT well and far away above the rest of the pack. Gang Gang at third place, but they have got more or less half the points of second.
I will speak towards the bottom of the bottom, of the pack a little bit more, right? Handmade Burgers, Dream Chasers, Chets, all with 5 points, stacking up in the single digits, runs all the way up to 8th place, right?
Yeah.
And this is the conversation that we're having at the start today. Notice how one high-ranking placement changes their direction and changes the fortune of this standings table completely, right? If Augulus are to secure a third place finish, that's 7 points. That basically doubles the points that they have right now, right? That'll see them through to 16 points, pushes them up a little bit further. However, you want to look to the top of the sheets. UTFT and Murky, it's a conversation we've been having all day. They are clear of the pack.
They are. I mean, they are seriously stomping their way forward. And of course, to mention, you look at what's that right hand side of the standings, there's a couple of names not present this week. Of course, there's some other qualifiers going on for ALGS. So, granted, it's understandable why they don't need to really be here for week one. And that's where we probably hope some of these guys to really make a kind of their presence known. I mean, all of them, from that kind of 14th to 19th place, they are all big hitters, especially the likes of, IG International, Invictus Gaming aside, who, we mentioned probably are one of the heavy favorites, if not the heaviest favorite in the grand scheme of things. EPL, that sometimes you might not know the name, but you know one of their players, Sir Dell, one of the better players coming out of the UK. Definitely someone we have to keep an eye on. And same can be said, of course, the Phoenix Legacy, SF Esports, everybody there who's not present today, who's playing over in the ALGS qualifiers. When those guys are present next week, they're going to be seriously scary. And that's where you've got to be scared if you're one of the sides who's going to end off, today's proceedings, maybe even this week's proceedings, in kind of the lower echelon, right? They are really going to struggle to compete and deny some of those heavy hitters from getting some serious points in towards next week.
I will say one thing on this whole testament, right? And to sign this one off in general to head us into this fourth game, right? Mm-hmm. Is if the gap between first and second place is 5 points, but the gap between second and third is 23.
Yeah.
I think that speaks volumes to how good the top two are. And as you said, obviously, maybe it's not going to be smooth sailing from here on out, because obviously we have we get what, 7 more teams back, if I'm not mistaken, 6 more teams back, from now and maybe even tomorrow, right? I don't know how long these qualifiers last for now, and I think
it'll be next week. I think tomorrow will be going as well for the LG stuff.
So even then, right? Today is another test. Well, today it's its own test. Tomorrow is the same test. Next week, I think, is where we really get into the nitty gritty of everything right now, and that's where we start to see your teams like IG, your SAFs, your Phoenix Legacies, and all of these teams that are currently not playing, that haven't scored a single point because they just haven't played today. That's going to shift a lot. And as you said, we're missing a lot of big names out of the teams that aren't playing. So maybe the standings will look very different heading into Game 4 next week. But for now, I just want to focus on those top two and how clear they are from the rest of the pack. As I said, I think if neither of those turn up for this fourth game, you're still going to see them top two. I don't think there's any way a team like Gang Gang that are in third are going to catch them with 1 game spare.
I have to agree. I think at the moment for those two, that they should see it off comfortably. They shouldn't really be a test. I think it's more kind of then becomes a battle of kind of, third, fourth, fifth place, right? You've got kind of Eco in 6th, Mythic in 5th, Franco, and then Gang Gang, right? I mean, those 4 all kind of in the, competing for rounding out the top 3. In the grand scheme, no one should catch up to those top 2. For Mercury and UTFT, this should be a pretty clear-cut week for them, just to see it off. And of course, without any of the kind of the real heavy hitters here this week, that's probably a very nice comfort thing to have under their belt, right? They're at the very least get to kind of see off, a day or a week without having
Yes.
to, compete against some of those heavy hitters, right? So I think for them, they're not going to complain at all. It's once again, as you always like to say, it's about consistency, just making sure that they see off in towards this fourth and final game, these similar performances that we've seen so far. Keep things looking good for them, and they should be okay. Now, we're about to end the way in towards game number 4. UTFT, they have been so commonly dropping over towards trials. We'll wait and see whether it's more of the same from them.
All right. Yeah. Fourth final game, ladies and gentlemen. If you only just joined us, what you're doing, we said the action starts at 6 GMT. It's currently 7:30, so you're an hour and a half late, but better late than never. Our fourth and final game here today to settle the scoreboards of play day number 1 of the ESL Apex Legends Premiership. Obviously, you can let us know what you think. Hashtag ESL Prem at ESL UK on Twitter. You can feel free to at us as well at Naokai at @u_retro. Let us know your thoughts and where you stand mentally heading out of this first day of the play day. Because of course, Nao, I think there's a lot to chat about, as we said when the standing screen was on. We've got a lot of if, buts, and maybes. The conditions continue to worsen when teams are back next week after these qualifiers that they're playing in, and it's just raw Premiership action. That's where things are going to be heated up to the epicenter. For the here and now, though, this has been a brilliant display from the top heavy to Murky and UTFT. A final match to separate these two sides and to celebrate our first play day winners.
Yeah, once again, over towards Big Maud. A bit of presence there. These two fought out last time. Gotta say, wasn't exactly great for Catjam. They did struggle. It left things not looking good for Xeyes, who had to kind of, try as best he can to fall away. This time looking a lot better. A lot of damage being dealt. Player going to find the first as well with a 30-30 at range dropping blade. That's important. And now the P2020 trying to go for some aggro bit of information. The Hemlock, that burst rifle, not exactly the best in those close engagements. That P2020 can be a problem. Catjam, for the first time out of the 4 engagements we've seen, might actually be able to see this one off in a victory under their belts. And a victory under the belt in terms of taking Big Maud, that is. Not overall.
Yes, I was going to say.
Yeah, and to be honest, it looks like they actually have. Things are looking good for them. The previous 3 times when they fought over towards Big Maud, they've lost it out. We saw in towards that second game, Rousey was just all alone in that final zone, just staying alive underneath all of the action. We saw him towards the previous game, Exod had to hightail it, pick himself up a Phoenix kit just to even remain in contention, and he wasn't long-lived for the world. I mean, Catjam, they themselves, not exactly in the best of positions when it came towards overall standings. Oh, that's great. They're going to get some nice gold loot on board.
Oh, we didn't get to see what it was. It's all right.
I'm assuming probably a scope, to be perfectly honest. At this early stage,
Yeah.
it'll probably be something like it'll be like a scope or something like that. It won't be anything too monumental, if I had to make a guess. Maybe an attachment. If they can get themselves something like a turbocharger, it makes that Havoc all the more important. It makes it, a lot more viable. I think the Havoc's not exactly the greatest of weapons, but if you've got a turbocharger on board, it actually becomes pretty decent in terms of being able to compete with the likes of an R301. Even at close range at R99, it can at least have a competition there. So if it's something along those lines, not too shabby. But what we do know, it's not at least not body armor over towards the Catjam players. Rocking the purple and 1 over towards player, and the 2 rounding out with some blue armor.
Waiting for the first fight really to break. Well, not the first, but now, once the dust has settled, kind of the first fight where everyone has a few weapons, the choice of weaponry, decent ammo supply. Because I reckon this one might run quick here, because I think these teams will know. I'm pretty certain they don't get updated like game by game where they stand in the standings. Maybe they have access to a document that they can see. But I'd be guessing at some point, everyone's turned around and gone, do you know what? UTFT probably going to be number 1, and Murky are hot on their heels. You don't have to be an idiot to, or you don't have to be a genius rather to know that they're like top 2 by far.
Yeah, sure.
And you need a miracle. So I'm surprised we aren't seeing a little bit more in your face Apex Legends. The fast paced pushing, action packed map 4. This is very slow, very, very slow.
To mention, I think maybe some teams are playing it more on kind of, a week-by-week basis rather than a game-by-game. I think potentially won't really see maybe too much aggression until potentially, like, you know, third, fourth week, maybe with some of those. I like to call them fringe teams. You know, we have 16 teams making their way towards this live playoffs. The sides who are just outside of that 16, or maybe even just in, right? Kind of from like the 13th to 20th range, right? They themselves will want to be a little bit more aggressive, try and get points on the back of kills. And speaking of kills, not looking good for Augulus because the Franco Brits are peppering them. Nova gonna fight, or Noxamasa even, gonna find the first. Cowl will fall. That makes things all the more uncomfortable for them. I mean, at least with the Crypto, they can get some information off the back of his drone. He has got the ult to work with, and a great little laser coming through there as well, makes it all the more uncomfortable, trying to deny that res coming through.
Okay. Still testing. Still trying to figure out where these players lie within the nooks and crannies. A great little flank here from JX. He's going to be firing off. Got to be careful. Can't quite see his scope, but he's got players lined up in the middle. That's Augulus eliminated. And just to kind of wrap things up quite nicely for their day, well, it's a quick exit. Bedtime maybe a little earlier, but looking at the Augulus side, they were kind of in contention for the middle of the pack. They were 8th place with 9 points. Not going to secure many more than now. That's that done.
I think they'll literally get one right off the back of that position, which isn't exactly a dreamboat by any means. Speaking of not being a dreamboat, Eco farming a little bit. We spoke about what Catjam can bring to the table. We hope for a little bit more from them. And then they meet the Titans that are Eco, that are fighting to kind of try and see off that, you know, 3rd, 4th, 5th positions. They're just outside of it. And not exactly bad for them. Couple of kills. They can catch Jam, feel the pressure just a little bit, and trying to catch them on rotation. Nice kill, X-Sides or fall. I think they got one left in contention. Player fell, X-Sides or fall. And this does leave it down to just one for them.
At least Eco have got themselves a winning opening engagement, right?
Oh, hang on. They're going to pop one of their own.
Oh.
They're going to go alone, in fact, for this. Okay, all right. Well, he's going for an information play off the back of the ult. Interesting to see him not kind of, you know, all try and use a Skyward Dive together. I mean, there's positives to this on the other side, because you look towards what Bardo's going for here. He's just going to early doors use that Skyward Dive, mainly just because he get the information. He can spot out who's in this position, and he'll know there's no one here, right? He's seen that this entire area is clear. The last remaining player, Pat Jam, has been forced to rotate away, so it means they get all this loot and this area on the edge of the zone for free, and this should be, for the grand scheme, relatively uncontested. Speaking of contesting, Franco Britzo, they're taking a bit of an engagement.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think he spotted out a different team, right? There was like a different set of people there, so absolutely. There's definitely challenges up ahead. Team Void eliminated. In the meantime, AJX, he's lost both of his teammates. But Franco, they want to get out. They've got to be careful because he was on a slither of HP. And Murky, they're taking some gunfire themselves. They want to get in on the action. They want to get themselves a few more points. Kinda's found Clone in the meantime. It's all kicking off right now, Nao. Kills are flying, and that's exactly what I expected in the 4th game. Big damage done by Kinda. Going to get the reload off with the R301, but got to be careful because there's an extra surprise for him, and he's going to try and get back into cover. Phoenix getting his back pocket that he's able to pull out, and that will save himself for now.
Important engagement coming through there for Murky. One of the sides trying, they're vying. Probably one of the few vying for that first place position. I think realistically, it's obviously only between themselves and UTFT. If they can walk away from this game with either a purpose under the belt or, you know, a top 3 and a whole host of kills, I think it all the more better for them. Speaking of UTFT, over towards them as they're taking a fight themselves. Mozambique being used in this engagement. Not exactly a gun that I prefer, but some people make it look like it's God's gift. And speaking of, that's a healthy amount of damage being dealt. Armor crack, looking for more off the back of the Havoc. And we spoke about what the Havoc can do at close range. And Tax is going to make that look oh so easy. Going to upgrade from Mozambique to the Peacekeeper. That's brilliant for UTFT. Great kills coming their way. A couple extra points under their belt is a blessing.
That's unreal. Mate, the Mozambique! I was literally about to say the same thing as you. That gun sucks in my hands, and he's just made it absolutely blast down shields, get into the red, do significant damage to a couple, and basically brings the guard down. They're able to just rush in and find the kills. 10 squads left, 22 players remain. There's players with disadvantages all over the shop, but one team that hasn't had a single issue is UTFT. 3 players alive, all purple shields, all ready for a new engagement.
These guys have been seriously farming, and once again, more of the same. There's an engagement being taken here for UTFT. Gold armor on the other side. It's Eco, in fact, who have to try and deal with them. And I think once they got the information that it's UTFT they're fighting, they're going to want nothing to do with this. Even escaping is going to be super difficult. I mean, the blessing for them is they got the zone on their side, but it's still this UTFT that they're up against. Do they want to take this engagement? Probably not. The fact that they've got that skyward dive to work with, they might want to try and jet out of here. And I don't think that's really too bad of an option at all. Are they setting up for it? Potentially, right? Yes, they are. Skyward dive. I mean, expected, right? The second they know they're taking that sort of engagement against UTFT, they want nothing to do with it. Just try and fall away. The only thing is they are being peppered at range. The good thing about the skyward dive is they'll also get information on the fact that on the other side, while they've escaped UTFT, it's Murky that they're going in towards.
Yeah, that is like... Do you know what? I say it's a bad ult. It's not a bad ult in terms of, it was like poorly timed. Like, they needed to use it, but it's the fact that you go from one of the best teams to the other best team. Like, you just can't get away from the action. Eco now with a lot on their plates to deal with. Information gathered. Murky are hot on their heels, but probably want to create some distance here just so don't get beamed down completely. Marsh has been put to his knees. A great shot from Arctic. Shield cell going to be popped, and actually he might just be removed completely here. This would be unideal for Murky. A team that looked so good in the first 3 games might have a massive disadvantage in the 4th.
Things go from bad to worse, I gotta say, for the likes of these guys. I mean, Marsh Cargate, well, okay, he's out, but they've collected the banners. That's okay. They can res him if they want to. Speaking of, though, the res isn't exactly in the nicest of spots. You can get a portable resurrection beacon. That'll make things all the more easier. Trying to get to the one that's dropped is going to be pretty tough. Now, for UTFT on the other side, we've got a bit of a fight to come through here. That flank coming through could be problematic. UTFT, decent high ground to work with. The only thing they need to be careful of is the third party.
Certainly. Let's see. What have we got in store for us? 10 squads, 21 players. Like, I've realised, started today, as we both were talking about and both expected, was we went from teams with 3 players alive, very conserved, to players going for risky business. You know, players running in, trying to make solo plays, trying to find kills, trying to get points. All of these things, it's all adding up. I mean, your average team is going to have 2 players in it. If you've got 3 alive like UTFT, you have a massive firepower advantage.
You do. To mention, though, that UTFT, they ended up winning at that previous game with only 2 alive. So it's still a possibility, but it is definitely on the more improbable side. Look at the loot that they've got. Double gold armor for Nezadiah, who really did struggle towards that previous one. Tax on red armor, too. I mean, this is really looking very favorable for UTFT. They have got a whole host of loot to work with. And that Eva 8 Havoc combo is so lethal at times, too. So for now, things looking good. Chets. The side has struggled in towards today's action. They have not looked kind of too preferable. You know, they've been one of the sides who we said, actually, you know, they are rock bottom. Joint rock bottom with 5 points. Single digits in terms of the points that they've had so far. If they can just stay alive for as much as possible, see off a couple of kills under their belts, they could really help them boost inside of that top 10.
Hey. Jay will slay. Lots of damage taken. Arctic back and forth. Eco looking a bit hungry here. They want in on the action. See his teammate Arctic laying down the hate, but Bardo's going to try and move him from the right. Spotted from the left. He's got to be careful because, of course, the ring's closing in. And so they just move further, closer together. Things are getting enticing now, Neo. The next fight, I feel like it's a bubble. It's ready to burst. Who's going to pop it?
Actually, that zone's on to seriously close in. We've only got 1 minute 40 on the timer until we get into the next stage. Eco needs to be slightly careful. A Kraber to work with, though.
That's
Zuni,
massive.
we saw him use that Kraber and Bocek combo in towards the previous game, but not too much use as he got flanked. This time, a lot better. And, of course, the positive note is that Arctic is still alive. In that previous game, it was just that Suni and Barda, who are left alive. Things looking a little bit easier for them now. They got all three online. A whole host of loot to work with as well. I mean, this is a really nice setup that Eco got to work with. The only thing that's slightly concerning for me is the position. It can be a little bit exposed from here, and there is the possibility of a flank being, you know, quite problematic. For now, though, speaking of flanks, Mythic can try and lock out one of their own. They've got a great, you know, chokehold, essentially, on this path in towards the zone.
Okay. All kicking off. UTFT. Zeddy has got to be careful. Tags, oh my words. Running the risk. Very low. Still alive. All is well and good for now, Nao. But we know things are high pressure, especially for a team like UTFT. They know they can secure first place. It's just got to be a game that they make no mistakes in.
Definitely a world, right? Definitely a world for now. I mean, even still, with the position that we see that rotation coming through from, right? I mean, they're going to force them into such an awkward chokehold. It makes things all the more uncomfortable. At the moment, things are really on a knife's edge. As that zone starts to shrink, this becomes dicey. Couple of taps coming through. Handmade burgers as a squad will be eliminated, which makes things all the more uncomfortable. And now rotation away. I don't think Mythic really want to take this fight. As most of them will try to kind of lock them out, they themselves know it's quite dicey. If they take this fight where they're so exposed, they could be dropped early doors. And they're just going to give up that space. Oh, look at UTFT. Look at the damage they're taking. Hang on a second. Tax is going to fall. This is not looking great for them. Because it's murky under the side with denying his presence. And Eco all in one fight. Three of the biggest names here in towards week one, day one. All vying for positions. And UTFT are going to be eliminated. Number one in towards 2 out of 3 games. Down at 8th place is not exactly a dream for them. Eco, all three remain alive. It's not a position we've seen them in too favourably. And this could be the first time we see them climb in towards that top 5.
Now this is your chance, this is your opportunity. You've got to put the back burners on here for Eco. Got to send it in. Franco Brits are eliminated. That's another team that gave a lot of teams a hard time. Murky's now eliminated. All up in the air, Nao, because your top teams, your top dogs of the competition are gone. And now, this is your chance if you're in the middle of the pack to rise to the occasion. 4 squads, 12 players, all chips to the middle of the felt. Who's going to be victorious in our 4th and final game?
Have to wait and see. 4 squads remaining alive, as you mentioned. Couple of names that maybe we didn't expect already down out for the count. Great use of the perimeter defense just to make it quite awkward, making the way in for Eco. Great crack of the armor. That high ground not actually working in their advantage. Horizon will give them the elevation. Azuni going to find one onto Miloshki, looking for more as well, and that Jibby will be dropped early doors. This is looking very good. And a kill leader as well added to Eco. This could be a way for them to find a lot of points. That Kraber, if it connects, will be problematic.
They didn't though. I'm not too sure if he has any ammo left in it. Yeah, plenty actually. This is massive. 3 squads are left, 9 players are left. That Kraber, as you said, is a world of hurt and a difference maker in a scenario like this.
Got great loot, as we mentioned. If that Kraber takes a pop shot, 9 bullets left in the mag. Not going to go for the shot though. Actually just going to fall away. For now, Eco, I've got to say, they are in a pretty decent position. They've got a fairly clear run over towards the zone. They should be careful of the zone itself from cutting them off. For them, if Eco want a chance of taking this one, third partying will be their best friend. Mythic on the other side. A side as well who we didn't really keep our eyes too tailed on. They could be in for a very strong finish to see off this one. Mythic as well, they're 5th place, vying as Eco 6th place. 3 squads remain alive, and it's Chets, the side who were coming in rock bottom in towards the 4th game, potentially could be seeing themselves off with a very, very strong amount of points and towards the end of day 1.
Firing off all the shots in the world, the flatline from Coach doing substantial damage, but they know as the circle continues to close, they're going to be pressured, they're going to be forced into one another. Who's going to make the move? Who's going to make the play? And you can see, look at the HP bar of Chet.
Oh, no.
All of these players are so low. They've all melted. Nick's the last man left, and he will fall. Chet's eliminated in 2nd. Who's going to be your champion? And it's the man on your screen. Round 4 done. What a massive game.
Mythic, they've seriously stepped up. Teddy had a fantastic showing. And off the back of that, Mythic should probably climb themselves into the 3rd place in terms of the points. That was fantastic. I mean, Mythic got a lot of kills. They were coming in at 5th before that game. And off the back of winning it, and then the substantial amount of kills they found, there's a real world in which they overtake Gang Gang. I mean, they were only 6 points behind That's a lot of points they gained. And Gang, they weren't really in the contention towards the latter stages. Neither can be
Yeah.
said for Franco-British Union either. We didn't really see them in towards a lot of those last engagements. So we'll have to wait and see. What we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to throw this one to a break. When we are back, we will sum up everything that went on today. We'll see you soon. Legends Premiership. 4 games done today, and the victor of our 4th was Mythic. They're a side who we said were on the fringe of maybe a top 3, and off the back of that win there and a whole host of kills, they potentially could move Gang off that 3rd place spot. It was a great game from them. We saw a couple of the bigger names drop out a little bit early, and potentially as well, that really could have a little bit of a shake-up towards how things, see themselves up in towards that top 6, top 7 positions. It was a cracking game though.
Yeah, I think it's definitely an interesting one. The craziness of this game, you could definitely feel the tension on the server a little bit more than any other game, right? In terms of everyone wanted kills, everyone wanted to be a part of that kill feed, and in an ideal world, everyone wanted to be champions. But we all knew at the end of the day, someone had to make a difference. Someone had to prevail, and especially in the last game, your hands are tied, especially when you're in the middle of the pack. Yeah, you've just gotta play like your life depends on it. And at the end of the day, that was it. It is indeed a new victor, at least, to see. A new champion. The Mythic side were your champions in our 4th and final round. And I wonder how that puts us off in terms of the game standings, right? How does it shape up today? I think, it's very obvious that the top 2 teams are going to, I feel like, stay the same.
Yeah,
however, the middle of the pack, that's the real meat of today, right? Because that final game has turned a lot of storylines that we built up heading into this on its head.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, UTFT, they took 2 out of 4 wins. We saw Murky take one of the others, where we saw, Murky really set up in terms of the fragging department, and they got good finishes as well. So those two should be absolutely fine. When you look towards kind of the third, fourth, fifth place, it really should have a bit of a shake-up. I wouldn't be surprised to see Mythic see off the top three, because off the back of that win, a decent amount of kills on their belt, they should just push Gang Gang off the back of that purge. I think for Gang Gang and the Franco-British side, they struggled in terms of seeing things off, and of course, these are how the round standings were at the end of the day. Eco actually took #1 place on the back of points just because kills pushed them over the edge. And that's where you see, second place finish. But then, of course, on top of that, 10 kills in a 19 points is fantastic. Mythic, first place, but of course, only 6 kills and 18 points. And then way down at 8 points, Chet's. But for Chet, I've got to say that is huge. When you consider that off the back of the first 3 games, coming in towards the fourth and final of today, Chet only had 5 points off 3 games. So they were really struggling. Rock bottom, 13th out of 13. And now, of course, looking better for them. So for Jets, they should at least make a little climb in towards probably the top 10, if I'm right in saying. So it shouldn't really be the end of the world. Murky did see themselves out towards 4th place, which means that overall they see off day 1 with 62 points and a first place position relatively comfortably. UTFT just in behind with 55 in 2nd place. Those 2 wins for them really did help, but that 4th game really struggled and really kind of made things quite uncomfortable. Only 5 points being collected, not exactly a dreamboat, and Mythic will see themselves off in 3rd place.
Yes, so having a look at the standings all in all, I don't think it's ever going to be, it's obvious, right? #1 and #2 we're going to be pretty certain. As soon as UTFT went out early on, I think we all knew Murky were going to have it. Obviously, they took an early exit. Fair play to Chets, may I say. Yes. I'm not too sure how much we want to bring up the point, the fact that they were dead last out of the teams that didn't play heading into that 4th game. And the fact that they've managed to get themselves where they are, they're in the top half. Fair play to them, Nao. But as a whole, that's our first day done. A very quick day in the office. It was a very interesting day. I think it sets the tone quite nicely. Tomorrow, I think we're going to see more of the same. But next week and sort of in the following weeks, the following play days, I feel like that's really where we get into the thick of things and where we can start to learn and piece together storylines heading into that live finals where you are playing for the cash.
Of course, and you got to remember as well, there's still a couple of big names that we didn't see today. We didn't see Invictus Gaming. We didn't see Serdell playing. We didn't see some of those big hitters or in another qualifier, of course. So for this week, it is a little bit up in the air. It's not exactly the full showing. When we get all 19 teams in the server, things should be a little bit more different. Probably a little bit more aggressive as well. So we'll have to wait and see how things pan out. Of course, we are back tomorrow, same exact time, 6 p.m. for some more, or 6 p.m. GMT for some more Apex action. But aside from that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Go and check out the channels, ESL UK on Twitter, and of course, you can head over to the website as well for all of the information. We thank our lovely partners as well, Intel, Logitech, and Aegon by AOC. About them, none of this would be possible. Thanks to our lovely production team, and thank you, Retro, for joining me as per usual. For now, though, I bid you all farewell. We'll see you back tomorrow, 6 p.m. UK time, 6 p.m. GMT. For now, we bid you farewell.
Oh no, anxiety creeps up on me. Is this how it's supposed to feel? Tell me when it's over. I got someplace that I gotta be. It won't leave. My friends say, get out of your comfort zone. It's a blessing in disguise. Get out of what you call home. Your name is